Others cultivate immortality. Fighting to the death, I cultivate immortality, only concerned with collecting rent. I started by inheriting a few acres of spiritual fields and a few spiritual houses. I thought I was destined for poverty, but I never expected to become strong while lying down and collecting rent. The spiritual herbs grown in the fields and the spiritual energy overflowing from the houses all automatically flowed into my body. Those fighting cultivators would fight tooth and nail for a single pill. I only need to sign a lease, and pills and spirit stones will automatically be delivered to my door. What sect wars? I only care about collecting my rent. Don't ask me what realm I'm in. The answer is the landlord realm. Invincible. That's how simple and unpretentious it is. A violent cough jolted me awake from my daze. My throat burned like I'd swallowed a handful of sand. Every bone in my body felt like it was falling apart. I struggled to open my eyes, and what I saw was a magnified face filled with disgust. A shrill voice exploded in my ear. Chen Fan, stop pretending to be dead. You're such a sickle. You consume so much of the family's resources every month. With limited resources and my third uncle and aunt gone, who else do you think will care about me? Memories flood back, making my head throb. Chen Fan, a 21st century office worker, died from overwork after continuous overtime and unexpectedly transmigrated into the body of this unlucky guy with the same name. The Chen family in Xinjiang City is a third-rate cultivation family, and I am the most marginal member of this family. My parents died unexpectedly during a mission, leaving me only a meager inheritance, a few acres of barren land, and a dilapidated courtyard in the most remote corner of Xinjiang City. The original owner of this body was also an unlucky guy, born weak and with mixed spiritual roots. After more than 10 years of cultivation, I was still only at the first level of qi refining, a pure waste. Every month, I barely clung to life with the meager relief from the family and the savings left by my parents. And the guy in front of me, whose spittle is almost spraying my face, is my cheap cousin, Chen Hao. I manage some miscellaneous things in the clan and have a bit of power. I've bullied the owner quite a bit. I weakly propped myself up on the bed and said, "My affairs are none of your business." Chen Hao sneered, his eyes like knives scraping against me. None of my business? You think I want to get involved in your mess? If it weren't for the elders of the Hall of Affairs speaking up, I wouldn't bother coming to your unlucky place. He pulled out a land deed from his pocket and threw it in my face. The clan has decided that your dilapidated courtyard and a few acres of barren land are a waste to keep in your hands. It just so happens that the Wang family in the west of the city wants to buy a piece of land to build a pig farm. Your land is in a remote location, which is perfect. Here's 50 low-grade spirit stones. Take this. From now on, don't even ask the Chun family for a single penny from the clan. 50 low-grade spirit stones. My memories told me that although my courtyard and land were remote, barren, and had little spiritual energy, they were still worth at least 200 spirit stones. This guy? You think you can just fob me off with 50 spirit stones? You've swallowed my last refuge. I gritted my teeth and pushed away the jerk on my face. I won't sell. This broken body may be weak, but I can't lose my backbone. If this courtyard is gone, this sickly chi refining level 1 cultivator probably won't live more than 3 days before starving to death on the streets. Chen Hao's eyes narrowed, revealing a dangerous aura. I won't sell. Chen Fan, have you thought this through? You're just a burden now. Without the family, you're nothing. These 50 spirit stones are the last bit of dignity the family is giving you. I repeated, I said I won't sell. My voice wasn't loud, but it was firm. Fine, fine. Chen Hao laughed angrily. He grabbed my collar and lifted me off the bed. You piece of trash, you dare to talk back to me? Believe me or not, I'll break your legs today and see how you talk back. He raised his fist, the wind from which carried a faint fluctuation of spiritual energy. He was a chi refining level 3 cultivator. A mere cultivator could easily handle a sickly weakling like me, only at the first level of chi refining. I closed my eyes, the chill running Having just transmigrated, I was already facing a brutal beating, possibly even death. This start was too hellish. However, the expected pain didn't come. Chen Hao, stop! A clear, cold voice came from the doorway. I opened my eyes. A young man dressed in the robes of a family steward walked in. His brow furrowed, and his gaze towards Chen Hao held a hint of displeasure. This was Chun Yu, a steward of the Chen family, supposedly quite fair. Upon seeing the newcomer, Chen Hao reluctantly released his grip and tossed me back onto the bed. Yu Zhishir, what brings you here? Chen Hao's face plastered with a fawning smile. Chen Yu ignored him and instead looked at me, asking, Chen Fan, the family's intention is that if you are willing to sell your ancestral property, the family can offer you a fair price. But if you are not willing, the family will not force you to decide. Chun Hao's expression immediately turned ugly. I gasped for breath, giving Chun Yu a grateful look, and then said decisively, "You ji sure, I will not sell." Chun Yu nodded, seemingly expecting this outcome. He turned to Chun Hao, his tone calm, yet carrying an undeniable authority. "You heard this. After this, do not bother him again for this matter, or you will be punished according to the family rules." "Yes, yes." Chun Hao nodded repeatedly, glared at me venomously, and slunk away. Chun Yu glanced at me, sighed, and took a small porcelain bottle from his storage bag, placing it on my bedside table. It contained a bottle of qi-gathering pills. "Be careful with your money, and think twice before you act." With that, he turned and left the house. Finally, it was quiet. I lay on the bed, feeling the weakness and pain in my body, my heart filled with confusion. Although I had temporarily saved the house, what about the future? With my qi refining level 1 cultivation in this broken body, let alone cultivating immortality, even surviving would be a problem. Was my transmigration life just about guarding a dilapidated courtyard and slowly waiting to die? No, I refused. Just as my mind was in turmoil, a faint light suddenly flashed before my eyes without warning. Then, a semi-transparent blue panel appeared abruptly in front of me like a holographic projection from a science fiction movie. Ding! Detecting the host's strong will to survive and obsession with protecting assets. The strongest landlord system officially activated. Finding host successful. Scanning host's assets. Asset 1. 3 dilapidated spirit houses, low-grade mortal level, old and neglected, easily dissipated spiritual energy, severely damaged formations, upgradable, remodelable, rentable. Asset 2. 5 acres of barren spirit fields, low-grade mortal level, infertile soil, depleted spiritual veins, upgradable, remodelable, rentable. The newbie gift pack has been issued. Please check it, host. Am I dreaming? I blinked hard. The blue panel was still clearly floating in the air. The system cheat, my standard equipment as a transmigrator, has finally arrived. I was so excited I almost jumped out of bed, but then I aggravated my injuries, and another heart-wrenching cough erupted. But this time, there was no despair in my heart. Instead, a blazing fire of hope burned within me. System, landlord system. I tentatively murmured to myself, "Hello, host. This system is dedicated to cultivating you into the strongest and most leisurely landlord in all the heavens and myriad realms." A cold, mechanical voice echoed in my mind, yet it sounded like heavenly music. "How do I become a landlord?" I asked impatiently. "It's simple. Host, you only need to rent out your assets to receive rent. The form of rent can be various: spirit stones, magic treasures, pills, cultivation techniques, even luck and destiny, etc. More importantly, as long as the host's property is rented out, the positive energy generated by the tenant cultivating, living, and growing within the property, such as improved cultivation, insights into the Tao, and a joyful mood, will be converted into the purest spiritual energy in a certain proportion to automatically nourish them. The more powerful the tenants, the more benefits the host will receive. The host's ultimate goal is to lie down and collect rent, automatically becoming an immortal. I'm totally dumbfounded. Other people's systems are either about leveling up by fighting monsters, refining pills and weapons, or killing and robbing treasures. My system is making me a landlord, and the kind where I can become stronger while lying down. This is exactly what I wanted. In my past life, I worked myself to the bone for KPIs and ended up dying at my desk. In this life, I'm not going to work myself to the bone anymore. Fighting and killing are non-existent. Secluded cultivation is too tiring. Being a landlord, lying in a rocking chair every day, counting snacks, watching my cultivation level rise rapidly. Isn't this the immortal life I've always dreamed of? I opened the newbie gift pack, suppressing my inner elation, and issued the command. Ding. Newbie gift pack opened. Congratulations, host, you have obtained Asset Repair Contract X1, which can restore one of your assets to its best condition 2. Rental Advertisement X1, which can automatically find and attract the most suitable potential tenants within 100 miles 3. Physique Improvement Liquid X1, which can cleanse the marrow and improve the host's constitution. My current weak constitution is exactly what I need right now. Without hesitation, I took out the vial of constitution-improving liquid that emitted a faint green light. Following the system's instructions, I drank it down in one gulp. A warm current instantly spread from my stomach to my limbs and bones. Then, an indescribable feeling of comfort spread throughout my body, as if every cell was cheering. I could clearly feel the blocked meridians in my body being opened by a gentle yet powerful force. My originally weak body was recovering its vitality at a visible speed. A layer of sticky black impurities seeped from the surface of my skin, emitting a foul odor, but I didn't care. A few minutes later, when the warm current had completely entered my body, I felt as if I had been reborn. The previous illness had been swept away, and I was full of strength. I jumped off the bed and stood firmly on the ground. I swung my fist, feeling powerful and vigorous. The stubborn illness that had plagued the gardener for more than 10 years had been cured by a small vial of medicine. It felt so good. I rushed to the well in the yard, drew a bucket of water, and drank it from head to toe. After washing away the grime with a bucket of water and changing into clean clothes, I felt refreshed. Next, I needed to deal with my real estate. Looking at the 2 low-grade mortal assets on the system panel, I fell into thought. System, use asset repair contract to repair those 3 spirit houses and spirit fields. We can take our time, but we must first establish a good living environment to attract quality tenants. The system confirmed the asset repair contract was in use. As the system notification sounded, the dilapidated courtyard before me began to undergo an astonishing transformation. A soft white light enveloped the entire courtyard. The walls, previously peeling and cracked, quickly became smooth and flat in the light. The broken tiles on the roof automatically returned to their places, and the overgrown weeds withered and disappeared instantly. The uneven ground in the courtyard became flat as before, and even the nearly dried up well regained its clear, overflowing water. Most miraculously, I could feel a faint spiritual energy gathering and flowing in the courtyard, a feeling infinitely better than the previous lifeless atmosphere. Ding! The dilapidated spirit houses have been repaired. The Clean Spirit House asset consists of 3 clean spirit houses, of low-grade, initial stage spirit level. It is rich in spiritual energy, with an activated array that gathers spirit energy and removes dust. Evaluation. A clean and comfortable dwelling can provide a good cultivation environment for chi refining cultivators. Although it's only the initial stage from the mortal level to the spirit level, it's a qualitative leap. I pushed open the door of the main house. Inside, the windows were bright and clean, the tables and chairs spotless, and a faint spiritual energy permeated the air. Taking a breath was refreshing. This was no longer the dilapidated house. It was practically a finely decorated cultivation cave. Perfect. I nodded in satisfaction. Everything was ready except for a tenant. I took out the yellow rental notice and began to ponder what kind of tenant I needed. First, they couldn't be troublemakers. I just wanted to collect rent quietly. Secondly, it's good that they have some potential, so I can reap more benefits. Lastly, and most importantly, they have to be a good person, at least not an ingrate. Otherwise, what if they default on rent or even kill and rob me? Thinking about it, I mentally issued an order to the system. Find a tenant of good character, with decent talent, urgently needing a safe place to cultivate, and who can afford the rent. The order received. The rental notice in my hand spontaneously combusted, turning into a golden light that instantly shot into the sky and disappeared. Now, all I had to do was wait. I wasn't in a hurry at all. I moved an old bamboo rocking chair to the center of the yard and comfortably lay down. The sun was shining brightly, and the breeze was gentle. This was the life I wanted. I lay in the rocking chair for about an hour and almost fell asleep. Just as I was drifting off, I heard hurried, unsteady footsteps outside the gate, followed by bang, bang, bang. Someone was knocking on the door. I opened my eyes, a slight smile playing on my lips. Here it comes. I slowly got up, walked to the gate, and unlatched it. A woman stood there, a woman who looked disheveled. She was wearing a light blue dress. His clothes were covered in blood and dirt, and several places were cut open by sharp weapons, revealing internal wounds. His face was as pale as paper, and his breathing was erratic, clearly indicating serious internal injuries. But what was most striking was his eyes. Eyes that remained bright and resolute even in dire straits, filled with unyielding spirit and vigilance. When he saw me, he was initially taken aback, seemingly not expecting that the person who opened the door was a young-looking boy with only the first level of chi refinement. His gaze quickly swept over the courtyard behind me, and only when he saw the tidy environment and the faint spiritual energy within did the vigilance in his eyes slightly fade, replaced by a hint of surprise crossed his face. "You're renting out this place?" he asked, his voice a little hoarse but pleasant. I nodded, mimicking the manner of a real estate agent from my past life, and gave what I thought was a very friendly smile. "Rental girl, you look travel-worn and don't seem to be feeling well. Would you like to come in and have a glass of water before we talk?" He hesitated for a moment. A young man at the first level of chi refining guarding a seemingly decent spiritual dwelling was rather strange in itself, but his injuries were already too severe to be suppressed. If he couldn't find a safe place to heal, the consequences would be unimaginable. In the end, he gritted his teeth, nodded, and followed me into the courtyard. "My name is Chun Fan, and I'm the landlord here." I introduced myself as I led him inside. Lu Qingyan simply gave his name. I led him to the stone table in the courtyard and poured him a glass of clear well water. Lu Qingyan picked up the glass, took a small sip, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Spiritual spring water. This well water contains. Although the spiritual energy it contained was weak, it was exceptionally pure and quite beneficial for healing. I smiled noncommittally. "Miss Lu, I see you're quite badly injured. You must urgently need a quiet place to heal, right?" I asked bluntly. Lu Qingyan nodded, looking directly at me. "Not bad. How much for your courtyard?" He was prepared to be ripped off. A spiritual dwelling like this, with its own spirit gathering and dust removing arrays, costs at least 20 low-grade spirit stones a month in Qingyang City, and it's usually only rented long-term. All his savings combined amounted to only 30-odd spirit stones, enough for a maximum of 1 month. I held up one finger. Lu Qingyan's heart sank. 100 low-grade spirit stones or 10 mid-grade spirit stones. It's definitely taking advantage of someone's misfortune. 1 low-grade spirit stone a month, I said slowly. Lu Qingyan suddenly looked up, her beautiful eyes filled with disbelief. He wondered if he was hallucinating from his injuries. A low-grade spirit stone? What was the difference between that and being given away for free? "You heard right, 1 low-grade spirit stone a month," I confirmed again. "Why?" he asked, puzzled, his wariness returning. "What are your conditions?" He understood better than anyone that there's no such thing as a free lunch. "Conditions?" I stroked my chin and pointed to the few acres of barren land in the corner of the yard. "You see, I'm a lazy person. I just finished tidying up the yard, and those few acres are still overgrown." "I see, young lady, you seem to have some knowledge of the ways of plants. During the lease period, could you help me cultivate those few acres?" "Plant whatever you want." Lu Qingyan was stunned. The condition was this: help him cultivate a few acres of wasteland. What kind of condition was that? He looked at me and noticed my clear eyes and sincere expression, without a trace of cunning or greed. He couldn't understand, but the situation left him no time to think. "Okay, I agree," he nodded immediately. He'd be willing to do anything, even be a bodyguard or thug, let alone cultivate a few acres of land. "It's settled then," I smiled. Ding. Potential tenant detected. "Generate lease contract," I silently asked. The next second, a contract gleaming with a faint golden light appeared in my hand. This was a Great Tao contract produced by the system. Once signed, both parties must abide by it. Otherwise, they will be punished by the Great Tao. This is exactly the guarantee I needed. I handed the contract to Lu Qingyan. "This is the lease. Take a look. If there are no problems, drip a drop of blood on it." Lu Qingyan took the contract. The terms were simple. Party A, Chun Fan. Party B, Lu Qingyan. Lease scope: Clean Spirit House, East Wing. Lease term: 1 month rent. 1 low-grade spirit stone. Additional terms: during the lease term, Party B shall assist Party A in cultivating the spirit field and guarantee not to maliciously damage the property. It was that simple. After confirming several times, Lu Qingyan didn't hesitate any longer and dripped a drop of essence blood onto the contract. The contract instantly shone with golden light and then transformed into 2 streams of light, which entered my and his brows respectively. Ding. "Congratulations, host. You have successfully rented out a clean spiritual house. Tenant Lu Qingyan is at the 6th level of Qi refining and is seriously injured. Tenant binding successful. Rental period, 30 days. Rent has been automatically deposited into the system space. Host can withdraw at any time. Detected. Tenant is satisfied with the living environment and is in a good mood. Converting spiritual energy. Detected. Tenant is circulating cultivation techniques to heal injuries. Spiritual energy conversion efficiency increased. Ding. Host cultivation has begun to increase automatically. Almost the instant the contract took effect, a warm current, purer and larger than during the previous physique transformation, appeared out of thin air in my limbs and bones. This warm current constantly washed over my meridians and nourished my dantian. My bottleneck at the first level of Qi refining was almost gone. Any obstacles were instantly overcome, breaking through the second level of Qi refining, and my cultivation continued to climb at a slow but incredibly steady pace. I was ecstatic, but my face remained impassive, maintaining that calm and collected demeanor of a superior being. Is this what it feels like to level up while lying down? It's so damn awesome. After signing the contract, Lu Qingyan couldn't wait to enter the East Wing, close the door, and begin healing. I, on the other hand, lay back down in my rocking chair, closed my eyes, and felt my cultivation gradually increase. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, warming my body, and I could hear the gentle breeze. My spiritual energy was automatically circulating in my dantian, and my cultivation was automatically rising. This is life. All that fighting and killing, all that sect feuds, get out of my way. Don't bother me. I just want to be a quiet landlord. For the next few days, I lived the life I'd always dreamed of, lying down and doing nothing. My daily routine consisted of getting up. I lay on the rocking chair in the courtyard, basking in the sun, and that was it. As for food, with my cultivation at the Qi refining stage, my need for grains was minimal. Occasionally, when I was hungry, I'd drink from the well. That pure spiritual spring water was better than any delicacy. Cultivation, what was that? Could you eat it? My cultivation was automatically increasing every moment. The speed wasn't like a rocket at the beginning, but it was still much faster than an ordinary cultivator meditating and breathing all day. In just 3 days, my cultivation had stabilized at the peak of the second level of Qi refining, and I was only one step away from breaking through to the third level. This feeling was simply wonderful. And my first tenant, Lu Qingyan, hadn't come out since moving into the East Wing. I could sense the spiritual energy around the East Wing. The unusually active Qi fluctuations clearly indicated he was focusing on healing, and the harder he worked, the more I benefited. A wonderfully perfect, mutually beneficial relationship had formed between us. He was my tenant, and also a tool for me to become stronger. Of course, I wasn't idle. I spent some time carefully studying this landlord system. The system panel was very simple. Besides asset and tenant information, there was a property management option. Clicking on it revealed detailed data about my assets. A clean spirit house current status. Rented 13 daily spirit Qi production. Confirmed property points. Positive upgrade options. 1. Increase spirit Qi concentration consumes property points 2. Add functional rooms, such as an alchemy room or weapon forging room, consumes property points. Upgrade defense. The defensive formation consumes property points. The barren forest is currently unrented, producing positive spiritual energy, +1 and property points, +0.1 daily. Upgrade options include 1. Improve land fertility, consuming property points 2. Transform it into a special spiritual field, such as a medicinal herb field or mining field, consuming property points. Property points are earned through holding and managing assets and collecting rent. I withdrew the low-grade spirit stone paid by Lu Qingyan, and the system immediately rewarded me with 10 property points. Combined with the automatic generation of assets over the past few days, I now have a total of 13.1 points. Looking at that long list of gray upgrade options, my mouth is practically watering. Alchemy room, weapon forging room. If I could build these, I wouldn't have to worry about renting them out. The rent would be plentiful. But right now, I still have too few points. Just as I was planning my future real estate empire, the gate was banged on again. This time, the knocking was full of impatience and arrogance. I frowned. I knew who it was even with my toes. I slowly got up from the rocking chair, went over, and opened the door. Sure enough, standing outside was my cheap cousin, Chun Hao, followed by 2 lackeys, both from the Chun family's collateral branches. When Chun Hao saw me, he was taken aback. He noticed that I seemed different from a few days ago. My complexion was rosy, and my breathing was steady, completely unlike my previous sickly appearance. But he didn't think much of it, assuming it was just a temporary resurgence after taking the pills Chen Yu gave me. Chen Fan, you look good after a few days, Chen Hao said sarcastically. Not bad, you won't die. I replied calmly. I heard. You rented out your shabby yard? Chen Hao glanced sideways at the yard. Yeah, so what? I don't think I need to report to you who I rent my place to. Of course not. Chen Hao sneered, his tone full of sarcasm. I'm just curious what kind of sucker would rent this godforsaken place of yours. I heard it's a woman. Hey Chen Fan, you're something else. You've learned to keep a mistress in a few days. The two lackeys behind him also chuckled lewdly. I can do that, but not insulting my tenants. Chen Hao, watch your mouth. If you have something to say, say it. If not, get lost. Don't get in my way. Hey, you piece of trash, you dare to talk back to me? Chen Hao immediately became angry. I came here today to see how much you can rent this shabby place for. I heard the rent is 1 yuan a month. Ha ha. I'm dying of laughter, Chen Fan. You've really disgraced the Chen family. You might as well give away a snack. Are you renting a place or doing charity? I bet that woman had nowhere else to go and was offering herself up to pay the rent. My eyes turned completely cold. I'll say it again, get out. I'm not leaving. What can you do to me? Chen Hao arrogantly puffed out his chest and stepped into the courtyard. Today I'll see which fairy godmother would be interested in a piece of trash like you, he said, about to barge into the courtyard. I stood still. Just as Chen Hao's foot was about to step onto the stone path in the courtyard, a sudden change occurred. A transparent light screen, almost invisible to the naked eye, instantly appeared at the courtyard gate. Humph! Chen Hao felt as if he had crashed into an invisible wall. He was thrown back by a tremendous force, landing on his backside with his feet in the air. Ouch! He cried out in pain. The two lackeys behind him were dumbfounded. Brother Hao, are you alright? What happened? How come there's an array here? Chen Hao was also bewildered. He clutched his aching backside, staring in horror at the empty courtyard gate. That impact had almost shattered his bones. When did this lousy courtyard get a defensive array? How come I didn't know? I stood with my arms crossed, looking down at him with a cold smile. I forgot to tell you, my courtyard has a new security system. Unauthorized personnel are prohibited from entering an array. Chen Hao got up from the ground, his face full of disbelief. He stared intently at the courtyard gate, reaching out cautiously forward. The moment the tip touched the doorframe, it felt a gentle yet irresistible resistance. A faint halo flashed through the air. There really is an array, a lackey exclaimed. Chen Hao's face turned pale, then ashen, extremely unsightly. How is this possible? When did this good-for-nothing Chen Fan have the money to set up an array? And judging by the strength of this array, although it's just a basic defensive array, it should cost at least tens or hundreds of spirit stones to set it up. Where did he get the money? Chen Fan, where did you get the snacks to set up the array? Chen Hao pointed at me, his voice trembling with rage. Well, I slowly rocked back into the rocking chair, reclining comfortably with my legs crossed. Business secret, no comment. Chen Hao trembled with rage. He felt like a clown today. They came all this way to cause trouble, but they couldn't even get through the door. If word got out, where would Chen Hao's reputation be? Just a broken formation. Watch me break it. Chen Hao, enraged, channeled his spiritual energy. With his chi refining level 3 cultivation, he unleashed his full power, throwing a powerful punch at the invisible barrier. The mountain-splitting fist whistled through the air, carrying a savage aura. However, this punch, powerful enough to shatter stone, struck the light barrier as if it were a mud ox sinking into the sea. The light barrier only trembled slightly, completely dissipating his force. Instead, Chen Hao himself was shaken, his arm going numb, and he staggered back several steps. How could it be so hard? Chen Hao's face was filled with shock. His full-force attack at Qi Refining Level 3 couldn't even shake this formation. This must be at least a mid-grade defensive formation. What kind of incredible luck did this good-for-nothing have? Just then, the door to the east wing creaked open, and Lu Qingyan walked out. She had changed into a clean, plain-colored long dress. Although her face was still somewhat pale, her breathing was much more stable than before, indicating that her injuries had mostly healed. Her cultivation had also recovered to the peak of the 6th level of Qi Refining. As soon as she stepped out, she saw Chun Hao and the other two at the door. Her eyebrows furrowed immediately. "Landlord, is there trouble?" he asked softly as he walked to my side. His voice was cold, carrying a sense of aloofness that kept people at a distance, but when he looked at me, his eyes held a hint of inquiry and concern. "It's nothing, just a few flies buzzing around annoyingly." I waved my hand, indicating that he didn't need to worry about them. Chun Hao's gaze fixed on Lu Qing in the moment he saw her. What a beautiful woman. Although she looks sickly, she is capable of playing her role perfectly, especially her cold and aloof temperament, which makes his heart flutter. "So you're the tenant here?" Chun Hao's tone instantly changed, tinged with arrogance and greed. Lu Qingyan ignored him, simply standing quietly beside me. Chun Hao's face stiffened at being ignored. Then he turned his anger towards me. "Chen Fan, you piece of trash. How dare you collude with outsiders? This woman's origins are unknown. What are your intentions in letting her live in the family's property?" She started to accuse me. I couldn't be bothered with her. Lu Qingyan seemed unwilling to cause trouble either. She turned and walked towards the few acres of land in the corner of the yard. After several days of nurturing, these once barren lands had begun to show a faint sign of life. Lu Qingyan took out some seeds from her storage bag and began skillfully tilling and sowing them. Her movements were gentle, as if she were handling some precious treasure. Seeing himself completely ignored, Chun Hao's jealousy and anger almost burst forth. Why? Why should this good-for-nothing be favored by such a beautiful woman? Why should this good-for-nothing live in a spirit house with an array? The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. His gaze fell on the spirit field that Lu Qingyan was cultivating. Pretending to be something he's not. Chun Hao sneered. "This lousy land can't even grow the lowest grade Qingha herbs. You think you can grow spirit herbs? What a joke." To prove himself and to regain face in front of Lu Qingyan, he once again channeled his spiritual power and struck the newly sown land with a palm strike. I destroyed a handprint formed from spiritual power, which flew with a whoosh towards the spirit field. Lu Qingyan's expression changed. He didn't expect the other party to be so shameless as to attack a mortal field. He subconsciously wanted to stop him, but it was too late. My eyes instantly turned cold. "You can touch me, you can tolerate my tenants, but touching my field is touching my life." However, just as the spiritual energy handprint was about to strike the field, another unexpected change occurred. A layer of earthen yellow light surged from the field, forming a semicircular shield that enveloped the entire 5-acre spiritual field. Chun Hao's determined palm strike landed on the earthen yellow shield, but it didn't even cause a ripple before silently dissipating. The entire courtyard instantly fell into a deathly silence. Chun Hao and his two lackeys' mouths were agape, their eyes nearly popping out of their sockets. Lu Qingyan also stopped what she was doing, her beautiful eyes filled with shock. What had she just seen? This seemingly ordinary field actually possessed its own defensive formation. Moreover, the aura of this formation was heavy and stable, seemingly even more advanced than the defensive formation at the entrance. What on earth was this place? I remained lying in the rocking chair, merely shifting to a more comfortable position, and slowly yawned. I already said this is my territory. Every blade of grass and every tree here is under my protection. If you want to cause damage, you'll have to pay extra. That's basic property management law, understand? Chun Hao was completely dumbfounded. If the defensive formation at the entrance shocked him, then the formation inherent in this spiritual field filled him with fear. This was completely beyond his comprehension. How could a piece of ancestral property abandoned by his family, deemed worthless, be so strangely mysterious? He looked at the person lying in the rocking chair. A chill ran through me for the first time, despite my calm demeanor. This Chen Fan was definitely not the good-for-nothing I knew. "Who are you?" Chun Hao's voice trembled slightly. "I'm your brother, Fan," he replied lazily. "Let's go." Chun Hao dared not stay any longer. He just wanted to leave this strange place as quickly as possible and report everything he had seen today to the family elders. He had a feeling that Chen Fan must have a huge secret. Watching the three of them run away in a panic, I curled my lip. Such cowardice, yet they try to act like bullies. Landlord Lu Qingyan walked up to me, hesitant to speak. His feelings were even more complicated than Chen Hao's. He had been staying here for several days and hadn't felt anything at all. I've discovered that every house and field in this courtyard is covered with such a powerful array. This landlord, who looks like he's only at the first level of qi refining, is probably far more complex than he appears. What's wrong? Are you scared? I smiled at him. No. Lu Qingyan shook his head and then bowed respectfully to me. Thank you for your help, landlord. You're welcome. I waved my hand. You're my tenant. Protecting your safety and, incidentally, protecting my property from loss is my responsibility as the landlord. Besides, if they really kick you out, who will help me farm? Hearing my half-joking words, a rare, faint smile appeared on Lu Qingyan's usually cold face, like an iceberg melting, quite beautiful. He wisely chose silence without asking any further questions, turning back to tend the spirit field. After the recent events, he became even more attentive to this land, vaguely sensing that this seemingly ordinary field might bring him unexpected surprises. Meanwhile, I opened the system panel. Ding. Host successfully defended against external intrusion, effectively maintaining the safety of tenants and assets. Excellent rating. Reward, 50 property points certificates, 1 asset upgrade coupon. Upgrading any asset will require half the points after use. My eyes lit up. Good heavens. A villain has come to my door with goodwill. Now I have plenty of points. Without hesitation, I opened the property management interface and selected the Clean Spirit House upgrade option. The system uses the asset upgrade coupon. The coupon will raise the spiritual energy concentration in the East Wing by 1 level. Lu Qingyan is my first tenant and currently my only spiritual energy producer. I must give him the best treatment. Instruction, confirm. After using the coupon, this upgrade will consume 25 property points. Confirm? Confirm. Upgrade in progress. With a thought, Lu Qingyan, who was busy at the door of the East Wing, suddenly shuddered. He turned around sharply and looked at his room. His beautiful eyes were filled with shock again. He could clearly feel that the spiritual energy concentration in the room was soaring at an alarming rate. Originally, it was only slightly more concentrated than the outside world, but now it was almost solidifying and turning into spiritual objects. In this environment, the cultivation speed could be increased by at least 3 times. My God, this is no less than the cave dwellings of the inner disciples of those major sects. He looked again at the person lying on the rocking chair, seemingly. The boy, who had done nothing, had an incredibly complex expression in his eyes, a mixture of awe, gratitude, and curiosity. Just who was this young landlord? How many secrets was he hiding? A month passed in the blink of an eye. During this month, I lived a very comfortable life, lying in bed every day, and my cultivation level soared from the 2nd level of qi refining to the 8th level. If word got out, the entire Qingyang city would be stunned. My tenant, Lu Qingyan, also underwent a transformation. In such an environment rich in spiritual energy, not only did his injuries heal, but his cultivation level also successfully broke through, leaping from the 6th level of qi refining to the 7th level. What surprised me even more was that he truly lived up to his reputation as a genius in the way of herbs and trees. Those 5 acres of spiritual fields, under his care, had become vibrant with life. The seeds he had sown had now grown into mature spiritual herbs, among which several of them had even reached the highest grade of 1st rank. Keep in mind, my spirit field is currently only at the lower grade spirit level. To be able to grow 1st grade spirit herbs is simply a miracle. This was the day the lease expired, and Lu Qingyan arrived early, holding a storage bag in his hands. Landlord, this is for 1 month's rent. Thank you for your hospitality, he said, his tone filled with sincere gratitude. This is the agreed-upon rent. He handed me the storage bag, and I took it. A quick scan with my divine sense revealed not just 1 low-grade spirit stone, but a full 10 low-grade spirit stones, plus a dozen or so thriving spirit herbs. This is somewhat unexpected. Lu Qingyan smiled slightly and said, Sir, the value of your spirit dwelling and spirit field far exceeds 1 spirit stone. Qingyan has benefited greatly in the past month. This is nothing but a token of my appreciation. He paused, then added, Also, this is the first batch of spiritual herbs I harvested from the spiritual field. According to the agreement, I should give half to you, sir. I smiled at his sincere eyes. What a good tenant. Not only does he not default on rent, but he also proactively raised the price. He even calculates the yield from the field clearly. Ding. Received rent from tenant Lu Qingyan. Evaluation exceeded target reward. Property points earned. 100 random lottery chances. Ding. Received physical rent from tenant Lu Qingyan. Grade 1 spiritual herb. Assets, small change. Experience points gained. Fertility slightly increased. A series of system notifications made me feel great. All right, then I won't be polite. I'll accept the storage bag. What do you have next? Are you planning to renew the lease? Upon hearing this, Lu Qingyan's face showed a hint of sadness and hesitation. I might have to leave. Oh, I found a better place. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. It's because my enemies are probably about to find this place. I don't want to trouble you, sir. I raised an eyebrow. Trouble? I'm not afraid of trouble at all. I looked at him and said calmly, as long as you still want to live here, as long as you pay the rent on time, even if the King of Heaven himself comes, he won't be able to kick you out of my courtyard. This is my promise to my tenant as a landlord. Lu Qingyan's eyes reddened slightly. Since his sect was destroyed and he was hunted down by his enemies, he had tasted the bitterness of the world. This was the first time someone had said such words to him. A cultivator who, the seemingly mere chi refining stage 1 youth, dared to utter the boastful words. Even if the heavenly king himself came, I wouldn't be afraid. This filled Lu Qingyan with a warm current and an unprecedented sense of security. However, his enemies were from the Blackfire sect. Their power was immense, and their leading elder was a foundation establishment cultivator. Lu Qingyan's tone was filled with worry. A foundation establishment cultivator was indeed a problem. Even the strongest member of the Chun family in the entire Qingyang city, the head of the Qin family, was only at the 9th level of qi refining. A foundation establishment cultivator could easily sweep everything away. I stroked my chin, lost in thought. It wasn't fear, but rather a calculation of gains and losses. Was it worth offending a foundation establishment cultivator and an entire sect for the sake of a tenant? Ding. Side quest triggered. Protect the tenant. Quest description. Excellent landlord. Having the responsibility and obligation to protect the personal safety of tenants and uphold the sanctity of the lease agreement. The task reward is a large amount of property points and unlocking the special goods section of the system shop. The system's voice rang out in time. Unlocking special goods. This reward is interesting. I made a decision instantly. So what if I'm at the foundation establishment stage? I lay back in the rocking chair, looking at Lu Qingyan with a nonchalant expression. I said, in my territory, I'm in charge. You can stay here with peace of mind. Even if the sky falls, I, the landlord, will hold it up for you. Lu Qingyan looked at me and finally nodded heavily. He chose to believe me. After Chun Hao slunk back that day, he immediately exaggerated my situation and reported it to the family elders. A good-for-nothing suddenly changed his personality and even possessed a spirit house with a powerful array. This immediately attracted the attention of the family's higher-ups. The next day, the head of the Qin family, my uncle Chun Tianxiong, personally led several elders to my courtyard. Chun Tianxiong, with his qi refining level 9 cultivation, was considered a prominent figure in Qingyang City. He stood at the courtyard gate. Sensing the faint fluctuations of the array, his expression solemn. Chen Fan opened the door. Chen Tianxiong's powerful voice echoed throughout the courtyard. I slowly walked over and opened the door. Uncle, elders, what brings you here? I asked lazily, leaning against the doorframe. Seeing my appearance, Chun Hao, who was following behind, was furious. Chen Fan hadn't even bowed to the family head and elders. He shouted sternly. I glanced at him and ignored him. Chun Tianxiong's gaze was as sharp as a hawk's, scanning me as if trying to see through me from the inside out. But he was disappointed. My spiritual power was contained to the extreme, and my cultivation was enhanced by the system and that mysterious rocking chair. Under the double concealment, he still appeared to be the harmless first-level qi refining cultivator, Chen Fan. Chun Tianxiong asked in a deep voice, "What is the origin of the formation in your courtyard?" "Oh, this," I said casually. A few days ago, while cleaning the house, I accidentally found a book of formation manuals and a few formation plates left by my father. I just fiddled with them and didn't expect them to actually work. That explanation makes sense. My cheap old man was indeed quite knowledgeable about formations when he was alive. Chun Tianxiong frowned, clearly half believing this explanation. Is there an outsider living in your courtyard? He asked again. You said Miss Lu? She's a tenant I invited, and she's also helping me manage the spirit field. Nonsense, a hot-tempered elder immediately rebuked. How can family property be allowed to be occupied by outsiders? What if he's a spy sent by another family? Throw him out immediately. I laughed. Third elder, that's not right. First of all, this courtyard and land are my private property left to me by my parents. The land deed clearly states my name. It has nothing to do with the family business. Secondly, it's my freedom to rent the house to whomever I want. It's not the family's place to interfere. Finally, my gaze turned cold. Miss Lu is my tenant. We signed a contract. If you want her to leave, will you pay the penalty? The rent for this house is very expensive. Third elder, after being rebuked by me, was glaring and acting arrogantly. Chen Tianxiong finally lost his temper. A pressure from the 9th level of qi refining swept over me, trying to force me into submission. However, that pressure seemed to be dissolved by an invisible force when it reached within 3 feet of my body, disappearing without a trace. I remained leaning against the doorframe, not even blinking. Chen Tianxiong's pupils suddenly contracted. What? Even a cultivator at the 7th or 8th level of qi refining wouldn't be able to withstand the pressure of a 9th level qi refining cultivator so calmly. Chen Fan definitely has a problem. Chen Fan, I'm asking you one last time. Chen Tianxiong's voice turned icy cold. Are you going to move aside or not? He was ready to attack. If I dared to utter a single word of dissent, he would immediately seize me with lightning speed before investigating the secrets of this courtyard. I looked at him and slowly shook my head. Uncle, I advise you not to make a move. You can't bear the consequences of doing so here. Arrogance. Chen Tianxiong was completely enraged. He stopped talking and struck me with a palm. He used 70% of his strength in this palm strike, fierce and surging, the palm wind howling, determined to subdue me in one blow. However, just as his palm was about to touch me, I moved. To be precise, I didn't move. I merely tapped the doorframe lightly with my finger. A soft thud resounded, and the entire courtyard, along with the surrounding 5 acres of spiritual fields, trembled slightly. An indescribable, vast, and terrifying pressure instantly descended from the sky. This pressure wasn't directed at any one person, but enveloped the entire area outside the courtyard gate. Thump, thump. Chun Hao and the elders following behind didn't even have time to react before their legs buckled, and they all knelt on the ground. Their spiritual power was suppressed so completely that they couldn't mobilize even a trace of it. Chen Tianxiong, who was at the forefront, was struck as if by lightning. His hand, which was reaching for me, froze in midair, and his entire body was bound by an invisible force, unable to move. The expression on his face changed from anger to shock, and finally to boundless fear. What kind of power is this? No, it's impossible. That's a golden core cultivator. He looked at me in terror, staring at his nephew still leaning against the doorframe with a lazy smile. At that moment, he finally understood what I meant earlier. I'm the landlord, I call the shots. Here, I'm the god. The entire room fell silent. Chen Tianxiong and several elders knelt on the ground, drenched in cold sweat, not daring to lift their heads. They could clearly feel an invisible yet invincible force, like a mountain pressing down on them. With a single thought, I could instantly annihilate them. This was absolute suppression on a life level. Uncle, elders, cool off on the ground, I said with a smile, as if nothing had happened. As soon as I finished speaking, the terrifying pressure vanished without a trace. Chen Tianxiong and the others, as if granted a pardon, staggered to their feet, their gazes towards me shifting from scrutiny and anger. Anger transformed into utter awe and fear. Chen Tianxiong's voice trembled as he addressed me. Young Master Fan, please forgive me. He dared not call me by my name again. We were reckless just now. Please forgive us, young Master Fan. He changed his form of address. Strength is the most powerful passport in the cultivation world. Uncle, you're too kind. We're all family. What's with the forgiveness? I waved my hand, appearing completely unconcerned. But the more I acted this way, the more uneasy Chen Tianxiong felt. This was definitely the reincarnation of some old monster or someone who had received a heaven-defying inheritance. Otherwise, there was no way he could possess such terrifying abilities. Ignorance is no excuse, I continued. However, please remember, Uncle and all the elders, that I don't like outsiders disturbing this place. Especially don't try to lay a hand on my tenants. Yes, we understand. Chun Tianxiong nodded repeatedly, like a chicken pecking at rice. Young master fan, we won't disturb your cultivation any longer. Farewell, farewell. After saying this, he led a group of bewildered elders away as if fleeing. Chen Hao, hiding in the distance, was dumbfounded, his legs trembling like leaves. The family head and elders actually knelt down before Chen Fan. This world is too crazy. They drove away the Chen family. A wonderful system notification sounded in my ears. Ding. Host has successfully intimidated the family's higher-ups and upheld the landlord's absolute authority. Excellent. Reward, property points. Earn 200. Asset Upgrade Package X1. The Asset Upgrade Package can upgrade all assets under the host's name by one major level. Damn, there's such a good thing. I immediately opened the system panel. Use Asset Upgrade Package. Use now. Ding. Asset upgrade in progress. The Spirit House has been upgraded to a premium cave dwelling. The Barren Spirit Field has been upgraded to a mid-grade Spirit Field. Asset 1. Premium cave dwelling 3 rooms. Mid-grade spirit level. Rich spiritual energy. The effect of the mist riding formation has been greatly enhanced, gathering spirit energy, removing dust, defense, and isolation of divine sense. Additional functions can be added. Alchemy room. Weapon forging room. Cultivation requires points. Rating is enough to make even foundation establishment cultivators envious. A cultivation treasure land. Asset 2. Mid-grade spirit field 5 acres. Mid-grade level 0. Fertile soil. Revived spiritual veins can plant all spiritual herbs. Below grade 3 can be transformed into a high-grade medicinal field. 0 mineral veins. Retail garden requires points. Rating is a treasure land that can stably produce high-level resources. Looking at the brand new asset information, I was so excited I almost jumped out of my rocking chair. Mid-grade level 0. This is really great. I can feel the spiritual energy concentration in the entire courtyard soaring again. What was once a stream is now a mighty river. The spiritual energy has almost transformed into a faint white mist, swirling in the courtyard. Even a single breath can enhance one's cultivation. Lu Qingyan, who was busy in the fields, was once again startled by this sudden change and stopped what he was doing. He felt the surge of spiritual energy around him and the immense vitality emanating from the ground beneath his feet. He was completely numb. The house and the fields had been upgraded again, all within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. He looked up at me, his eyes filled with awe. Just what kind of being was this landlord? I was in a great mood and was about to explore the newly unlocked functions when Lu Qingyan walked over with a worried expression. "Landlord, what's wrong?" he said. "The Blackfire sect people have arrived." His voice was soft, but trembled slightly. I followed his gaze and looked into the distance. Several black streaks of light were rapidly approaching from the sky above Qingyang City. The leading streak was powerful and violent, making no attempt to conceal its foundation establishment stage aura. The entire Qingyang City was enveloped by this pressure, and countless cultivators trembled in fear. "They're coming quite fast," I said, narrowing my eyes. "Sir, they're coming for me." Lu Qingyan's face was deathly pale. He bit his lip and took out all the snacks and that month's rent from his storage bag. "This is all my savings and this month's rent. Thank you for your hospitality these past few days, sir. Qingyan can't trouble you any further. I'll leave now." He was prepared to face his enemies alone and didn't want to implicate me. I looked at the storage bag he offered but didn't take it. "Miss Lu, we signed a contract." I stood up, dusted myself off, and said calmly, "The lease hasn't expired yet. You're my tenant. It's only right for a landlord to protect his tenant. But they have a foundation establishment cultivator among them. So what if they're foundation establishment cultivators?" I glanced at him. In my eyes, if it's a dragon, it has to coil up. If it's a tiger, it has to lie low. Anyone who wants to mess with my tenants will have to ask me, the landlord, for permission first. The words had barely left his lips when several black streaks of light appeared above my courtyard. Leading them was a middle-aged man in a black robe with a sinister face. He looked down at us with eyes as if we were ants. "Lu Qingyan, you bastard, we've been looking for you everywhere. Today, let's see where you run now." The black-robed man's voice was like ice, carrying a chilling, killing intent. The Black Fire sect disciples behind him also stared at Lu Qingyan with sinister grins, their eyes filled with mockery and cruelty. Lu Qingyan's body trembled uncontrollably, a tremor stemming from. Deep within his heart, fear gripped him. The black-robed middle-aged man before him was none other than Elder Zhao of the Black Fire sect, a genuine early-stage Foundation establishment cultivator and one of the main culprits who had destroyed his sect. Zhao Wuji and Lu Qingyan gritted their teeth and said hatefully, "Huh, you still remember my name?" "Not bad," Zhao Wuji sneered, but his gaze was drawn to his small courtyard. He uttered a soft, a hint of surprise in his eyes. Even with his Foundation establishment-level divine sense, he couldn't completely see through the courtyard below. The courtyard was filled with spiritual energy, and the houses in the spiritual field were shrouded in a faint array halo, isolating his detection. A hint of something. Zhao Wuji's lips curled into a greedy smile. "I never expected to find such a blessed land in this remote and impoverished place. Lu Qingyan, you certainly know how to find a place to hide." He didn't take me, a mere Qi refining stage 1 youth, seriously at all, regarding me as just some lucky gatekeeper of this cave. In his eyes, this place would soon belong to the Zhao family. "Zhao Wuji, my affairs are none of your business. Come at me." Lu Qingyan mustered his courage and stood in front of me, trying to draw all the hatred onto himself. No rush," Zhao Wuji waved his hand, turning his gaze to me with an air of superiority. "Kid, this place is nice. I've got my eye on it. You have 3 breaths to get out of here with your men. I'm in a good mood today, so I might spare your life." His disciples behind him burst into laughter. "Kid, did you hear that? Elder Zhao told you to get lost. Giving Elder Zhao space is a blessing you've accumulated over 8 lifetimes." I picked at my ears, seemingly ignoring their shouts. I looked up at Zhao Wuji in midair and asked seriously, "Are you here to rent a room?" The entire room fell silent instantly. Zhao Wuji and his disciples stared at me like I was an idiot. "Kid, are you out of your mind? Don't you see we're here to kill people? You're asking for death, kid," a Qi refining level 8 disciple roared, about to attack. Zhao Wuji raised his hand to stop him. He looked at me with interest. "Oh, you rent this place out?" I nodded, then began to introduce it seriously. "Exquisite cave dwelling, high-grade spiritual field, move-in ready, honest and fair. Check in now and get free spiritual spring water. If you want to rent, I can give you a 20% discount." Lu Qingyan, behind me, anxiously tugged at my clothes. "What time is it?" "Landlord, how can you still be joking?" "Ha ha." Zhao Wuji laughed loudly, as if he'd heard the funniest joke in the world. "You're really something. I've roamed the cultivation world for 100 years, and this is the first time I've seen someone so fearless." His laughter abruptly stopped, his face instantly turning incredibly gloomy. "Since you won't listen to reason, I'll send you on your way first. Then I'll deal with this little bitch." With that, he pointed his fingers like a sword, and a sharp black sword aura, accompanied by a sinister laugh that seemed to tear through the air, shot towards my face. Even a casual strike from a Foundation establishment cultivator was far beyond what a Qi refining cultivator could withstand. Lu Qingyan's face turned deathly pale in an instant, and he cried out in alarm, "Sir, be careful." Without thinking, he was about to rush forward to block the attack for me, but I stretched out a hand. I gently pressed down on his shoulder to immobilize him, then looked up at the rapidly approaching black sword energy. I simply blew a breath, and an invisible wind emerged from my mouth. The terrifying sword energy, enough to instantly kill any Qi refining cultivator, burst in midair like a fragile soap bubble with a soft whoosh, easily dissipating into the air as if it had never existed. The laughter in the sky abruptly stopped. Zhao Wuji's sinister smile froze, and the expressions of all the Black Fire sect disciples behind him also froze. The whole world seemed to have been paused at this moment. Everyone stared wide-eyed at me, as if they had witnessed some unfathomable spectacle. How is this possible? Zhao Wuji's voice was dry and filled with disbelief. Although his attack only used 30% of its power, it was enough to flatten a small mountain. It was actually blown away by the opponent with a single breath. What kind of supernatural power was this? He couldn't understand it at all. I already said that if you want to make a move here, you have to ask me, the landlord, first. I clapped my hands, still with that lazy expression. Now I'll give you two choices. 1. Take your people and get out of here immediately. I can pretend nothing happened. I've been born 2 years ago. I paused, a cold smile curving my lips. I'll cripple you all, then have your families bring snacks to ransom you. I personally recommend the second option. After all, my courtyard was just upgraded and the maintenance fee is very expensive. After a brief moment of shock, Zhao Wuji's face turned ashen, his eyes blazing with killing intent. He attributed the previous scene to my use of some powerful defensive magic weapon. Boy, I admit I underestimated you. To be able to block one of my attacks, you must possess a great treasure. Today, not only is this cave-dwelling mine, but the treasures on your body are also mine. Zhao Wuji no longer held back. His initial aura erupted in full force, a black flame rising from his body and engulfing him entirely. It was the Black Fire sect's unique technique, the Black Fiend demonic fire black dragon style. Zhao Wuji roared, his hands forming hand seals, and the black flames on his body instantly condensed into a ferocious fire dragon several meters long, roaring as it swooped down towards my courtyard. The air distorted and sizzled wherever the fire dragon passed. He used all his power in this attack. He wanted to burn me and this courtyard to ashes. Lu Qingyin's face had lost all color. He closed his eyes in despair. Faced with such a terrifying attack, he couldn't imagine any possibility of survival. Yet I remained standing still, not even lifting an eyelid. Just as the black fire dragon was about to crash into the courtyard's defensive formation, I lifted my foot and gently stomped it on the ground. A muffled thud, like the heartbeat of the earth, followed by a dramatic change in the world's atmosphere. Within 100 meters of my courtyard, all the spiritual energy of heaven and earth boiled at that moment. As if summoned by an emperor, they surged wildly from all directions, converging at my feet. Earthy yellow light shot up from the ground, emerald green light bloomed from the spiritual fields, and milky white light rose from the houses. The three colors intertwined, forming a gigantic, solidified light that enveloped the entire courtyard and spiritual fields. The imposing black fire dragon crashed headlong into the tricolored light. There was no earth-shattering explosion, no world-destroying impact. The black fire dragon was like a headfirst into a marshmallow. Its massive body was quickly enveloped, compressed, and dissolved by that gentle yet irresistible force. In just a breath, the black fire dragon, formed from the full power of a Foundation Establishment cultivator's attack, it vanished completely, leaving not a trace of black smoke, as if erased from the world by an eraser. Zhao Wuji was struck with a heavy blow, spitting out a mouthful of blood. His body plummeted from midair like a kite with a broken string, crashing heavily into the muddy ground outside the courtyard gate. The black, demonic fire on his body extinguished, and his aura weakened to the extreme. His face was filled with horror as he stared intently at the three-colored light, his eyes filled with a fear and incomprehension 100 times stronger than before. Domain power. This is domain power. Who are you? He couldn't understand how only a golden core ancestor could possess such power. Why would the power of a domain appear here, on a boy who looks to be only at the chi refining stage? This defies common sense. It overturns the ironclad rules of the cultivation world. I didn't answer his question. I simply slowly raised my hand and gently grasped the hands of the few Black Fire sect disciples in the sky who were already terrified. Come down. An invisible hand appeared out of thin air and grabbed all the Black Fire sect disciples from the sky like chickens, throwing them down and piling them up in a heap next to Zhao Wuji. After doing all this, I clapped my hands, walked up to them, and looked down at them. Now we can talk about compensation. I wore a friendly smile, but to Zhao Wuji and the others, that smile was more terrifying than a devil. I have my own rules. First, the tenant is God. You can't hit, scold, or scare him. Second, you're not allowed to make loud noises on my turf and disturb my sleep. Third, and most importantly, I paused and said, word by word, the landlord is always right. Now you've violated all of the above rules, so the consequences are severe. I held up 3 fingers. 30,000 low-grade spirit stones or equivalent items. Give them to me, and you can get out. Otherwise, you'll stay and farm for me. You can leave when you've paid off your debts. Do you understand the rules? 30,000 low-grade spirit stones. Zhao Wuji, who was lying on the ground, almost spat out another mouthful of blood when he heard this number. 30,000. He didn't hear wrong, did he? Even if he sold his entire Blackfire sect, he couldn't raise that many circulating spirit stones in a short time. This kid wasn't asking for money, he was asking for his life. You think it's too little? I raised an eyebrow and held up another finger. It's not that we can't discuss it. Then it'll be 40,000. No less. Zhao Wuji was terrified. San hurriedly waved his hand, aggravating his injuries and causing him to grimace in pain. He now understood that the seemingly harmless young man before him was nothing more than a devil in human skin, a thoroughly greedy and unscrupulous merchant. Senior Fanfan, Zhao Wuji struggled to his feet, his posture extremely humble, even addressing him as senior. 30,000 spirit stones. This junior really can't afford it. All my possessions combined amount to only 2,000 spirit stones and some pills and magical artifacts. Look, he said, trembling as he took off his storage bag. He respectfully handed it over, and I took it. A quick scan with my divine sense confirmed it was true. There weren't many spirit stones, but there were quite a few miscellaneous items. Several bottles of healing and cultivation-enhancing pills of average quality, 2 low-grade spiritual artifacts, a flying sword, and a black seal. All passable. Just this much. I curled my lip, looking utterly disgusted. A foundation establishment cultivator with this little wealth? How poor is your Blackfire sect? Zhao Wuji's face turned a deep shade of purple. He felt utterly humiliated, yet dared not utter a single word in rebuttal. Poor. He was a dignified elder of the Blackfire sect, and outside, he was quite imposing. When had someone as powerful as Zhao Wuji ever been so openly humiliated? But now he was at their mercy, forced to endure it. Senior, our storage bags are all here. Please take a look. A quick-thinking disciple nearby gathered the other disciples' bags and presented them as well. I glanced at them and lost interest. A bunch of paupers combined can't even scrape together 5,000. It seems you can't afford the compensation. I stroked my chin, revealing a smile that sent chills down Zhao Wuji's spine. Since that's the case, then we can only proceed with the second plan. Ding. Debtor unable to repay debt. Generate labor reform contract? I silently asked. The next second, several contracts flashing with eerie black light appeared out of thin air in my hand. The style of these contracts was much darker than the previous lease contracts. What is this? Zhao Wuji looked at the black contracts and felt a sense of foreboding. Labor reform contract. I shook the paper in my hand, smiling like a devil. Simply put, you owe me 30,000 in snacks. You can repay the debt with labor. Come on, sign your names and drip your blood. I threw the contract in front of them. Zhao Wuji picked it up and saw that it read, Debtor, Zhao Wuji creditor, Chen Fan debt, 30,000 low-grade spirit stones repayment method. To offset the debt by working in the spirit field under the creditor's name, 10 low-grade spirit stones can be deducted per day. Additional clauses. During the work period, the debtor must obey all orders of the creditor and his designated manager, and must not resist, run away, or slack off otherwise. He will suffer the torment of being devoured by 10,000 ants. After the contract takes effect, part of the debtor's cultivation will be sealed, and only his physical strength will be retained for labor. The torment of being devoured by 10,000 ants will seal his cultivation. Upon reading this, Zhao Wuji nearly fainted. This wasn't a labor contract, it was a slave contract, the most draconian kind at that. 10 spirit stones deducted per day, 30,000 spirit stones in total. How long would that take? 3,000 days. That's almost 10 years. Making a foundation establishment stage expert work as a farmer for 10 years? It was worse than death. Senior Qian, this is absolutely unacceptable. Zhao Wuji pleaded, his face contorted with grief. I can send a message back to the sect and have them send the ransom. Please don't sign this. Send the ransom. His eyes lit up. You should have said so earlier. This guy was the easiest to talk to. I withdrew the contract, and Zhao Wuji and the others breathed a sigh of relief. However, I changed the subject. The ransom price had to be changed, since it involved cross-sect business. Fees, storage fees, and compensation for emotional distress all had to be factored in. I counted on my fingers, looking very serious. How about this? I'll give you a package deal. 50,000 low-grade spirit stones or equivalent rare and precious materials. If you lose one, you can keep it to farm. 50,000 to 50,000. Zhao Wuji felt his heart bleeding. The price had almost doubled. This little devil was too ruthless. But looking at the black contract in my hand, which was shimmering with an ominous light, he knew he had no choice. 50,000 it is. He gritted his teeth and squeezed out a few words. I'll send a message to the sect immediately. He took out a communication jade slip from his storage bag, infused it with spiritual power, and sent out the events that had happened here and my ransom demands in an extremely humiliating and angry tone. After doing all this, he was completely drained of energy and slumped to the ground. I nodded in satisfaction and then looked at Lu Qingyan, who had been standing by and had witnessed everything from beginning to end. His small mouth was slightly open. His beautiful eyes were filled with shock, awe, and a hint of admiration as he discovered. This landlord's strength is unfathomable, and his methods of handling problems are unheard of and unseen. He made a foundation establishment cultivator and a sect obediently prepare to pay a ransom of 50,000 spirit stones without shedding a drop of blood. What domineering power and composure. Miss Lu. I turned and smiled at him. It seems your enemies won't be able to bother you for now. They're my employees now. I pointed to Zhao Wuji and the others lying paralyzed on the ground. Looking at her mortal enemies lying on the ground like dead dogs, Lu Qingyan was overwhelmed with mixed emotions, the joy of revenge and boundless gratitude towards me. Together, he bowed deeply to me, saying, Sir, your kindness is unforgettable. It's nothing but a small matter. I waved my hand and lay back in my rocking chair, reassuring myself to settle in and remember to pay the rent on time. Meanwhile, in the distant Blackfire sect's main hall, a burly, menacing old man in black robes suddenly crushed the communication jade slip in his hand. How dare you extort my Blackfire sect? How dare you imprison my sect elders? Do you really think my Blackfire sect is made of clay? A terrifying pressure erupted from him, and the entire hall buzzed. Guards, a disciple of the sect leader rushed in to deliver my order. Elder Ma, take the Blackfire banner and go. The voice of the black-robed sect leader of Qingyang City was icy cold. I want to see who dares to touch my Blackfire sect. Tell Elder Ma not to bring snacks. Just bring me that madman's head. While waiting for the Blackfire sect to send the ransom, I found myself in a new predicament. Although I had suppressed Zhao Wuji and his disciples, they were still cultivators. I couldn't let them lie around at the gate all day. It would affect the city's appearance and my mood for relaxation. Since I'm just idling anyway, I said, sitting up from my rocking chair and issuing orders to those lazybones. Zhao Wuji. The people, jolted awake, dared not utter a sound of anger and scrambled to their feet. Senior, what work are you doing? Zhao Wuji asked cautiously. See that land? Weeding, watering, tilling. You know all that, right? What? You want us to farm? A Blackfire sect disciple cried out. What? You have a problem with that? No problem. Zhao Wuji's face was ashen. He, a foundation establishment cultivator and elder of the Blackfire sect, was respected wherever he went. Now, he was being reduced to being a farmer. It was utterly disgraceful. He was deeply humiliated, but dared not resist. He could only dejectedly lead his disciples into the spirit field. Lu Qingyan, seeing this, had a complex expression. He silently brought several hose and buckets and placed them in front of them. Zhao Wuji's hands trembled as he looked at the mud-covered hoe. He had touched flying swords, magical artifacts, and women's waste in his life, but never a hoe. Finally, under my death stare, he reluctantly grasped the hoe and began his first time tilling the land. However, just as he swung the hoe down, Ding's special behavior was detected. A Foundation establishment cultivator is working in your spirit field. Hidden mechanism triggered. Spiritual power replenishment labor version. The spiritual power overflowing, the sweat shed, and the intense emotions, humiliation and anger, generated by the Foundation establishment cultivator during labor will all be absorbed by the spirit field and transformed into the purest soil fertility. Spiritual field fertility, positive 0.1 property accumulation. I was stunned. Such a good thing. I immediately opened the system panel and saw that the fertility value column next to the data for the mid-grade spirit field had indeed jumped up, and it even rewarded me with property points. My eyes lit up instantly. This wasn't labor reform, it was clearly hiring a batch of high-powered fertilizer machines for me. One day's work by a Foundation establishment cultivator was more effective than Lu Qingyin's month-long hard work. My gaze towards Zhao Wuji instantly changed from looking at a prisoner to looking at a shining treasure. Old Zhao. I cleared my throat, my tone becoming much gentler. Do a good job. I have high hopes for you. The future of this forest field is in your hands. Hearing my sudden encouragement, Zhao Wuji trembled, feeling even worse than if I had beaten him. He didn't know my ulterior motives, he only felt a deeper level of humiliation. He gritted his teeth, turning his grief and indignation into strength, and fiercely. With a single stroke of the hoe, soil flew everywhere. The fertility of the field was positive 0.2, and the property points were positive 1. Damn, is the power of anger that strong? I thought, watching Zhao Wuji and his disciples toiling in the field, their lips curling into a wild smile. Great, my real estate empire has gained a new business. Not only can I rent it out, but I can also do agricultural outsourcing and emotional power generation. Lu Qingyin, watching from the side, couldn't help but chuckle. Seeing his enemies, covered in dirt and grime, working in the field, the pent-up resentment he'd harbored for years dissipated considerably. He walked to my side and said softly, "Sir, I'll go and give them some guidance. Their haphazard digging will damage the roots of the medicinal herbs." "Yes, go ahead." I nodded. "You're the manager here now. They're all under your jurisdiction. If anyone disobeys, just tell me." Lu Qingyan responded and walked towards the spirit field. When he reached Zhao Wuji, he pointed to the ground beneath his feet. "Elder Zhao, you've stepped on the blood-coagulating grass. Please move aside." Zhao Wuji's body stiffened abruptly. He looked up at the woman before him, whom he had once hunted relentlessly, now his superior. The immense disparity in their status and the humiliation he felt caused his old face to turn purplish red. Ding! Detected extreme humiliation in Zhao Wuji's heart. 0 field fertility positive 0.5 property points positive 2. I was lying in my rocking chair and almost burst out laughing. Fantastic. This is a perfect closed loop. Just as I was enjoying this peaceful and efficient afternoon, a terrifying pressure several times stronger than Zhao Wuji suddenly descended upon Qingyang City. That pressure, like a dark cloud, enveloped the entire city, filled with tyranny and killing intent. Countless cultivators within the city trembled under this pressure, their faces filled with terror. They were mid-foundation establishment cultivators. Heavens! Another important figure has arrived in Qingyang City. This direction seems to be back to Chen Dong's residence. Chen Tianxiong, who had just recovered from his shock, felt this aura and his face turned deathly pale. The Blackfire sect has sent more people, and this time they are even stronger than Zhao Wuji. He immediately summoned all the elders and issued a death order. No one was allowed to leave the family's formation, and the mountain gate was sealed. Whatever happens outside today is none of my business. He was terrified and now only wanted to cower in fear. Meanwhile, in my courtyard, Zhao Wuji, who was working diligently in the fields, felt this familiar and powerful aura, and his face instantly lit up with joy. Overjoyed, he exclaimed, Brother Ma is here." He threw down his hoe and shouted excitedly to the sky, "Brother Ma, save me. I'm here." He seemed to already see himself rescued, then turning around and tearing him to pieces. A black streak of light, like a meteorite, streaked across the sky and hovered precisely above my courtyard. The newcomer was a thin, hooked-nosed old man with swollen, sinister eyes. He wore the same black robe, but now carried a black banner fluttering in the wind. His face was etched with countless agonizing, wailing faces, radiating a thick aura of resentment and ominous power. He was Black Flame, a mid-grade spiritual energy. Elder Ma Yuan, the punishment elder of the Blackfire sect, possessed a mid-foundation establishment cultivation. Upon arriving, his gaze immediately locked onto the scene in the courtyard below. When he saw his junior brother, Zhao Wuji, dressed in tattered clothes and covered in mud, wielding a hoe in the field, his pupils constricted sharply. A surge of boundless rage ignited within him. Junior brother Zhaoyu, how dare you humiliate my Blackfire sect like this? Elder Ma Yuan's voice was like a chilling wind from the depths of hell. He stared intently at me, lying in the rocking chair, his killing intent palpable. Boy, you're Chin Fan. I yawned, sat up from the rocking chair, and stretched. It's me. I looked up at him, then at the empty space behind him. The sky frowned. It's good you've arrived, but where's the ransom I asked you to bring? Why are you alone? Ma Yuan heard the word ransom as if he'd heard the biggest joke in the world. A cruel sneer appeared on Yin Sui's face. Boy, are you still asleep? You imprisoned my sect elder, and you dare ask me for ransom? Today, I won't give you a single snack. I'll use your soul to appease my Blackfire flipper. The black flipper in his hand moved without wind. Countless ghostly faces on its surface seemed to come alive, emitting chilling, sinister laughs that made one's soul tremble. Zhao Wuji in the field saw the Blackfire flipper in Ma Yuan's hand. His face lit up with even greater ecstasy. Brother Ma used the Blackfire flip to kill him and avenge me, he roared. The Blackfire flip is one of the Blackfire sect's most powerful treasures. It's incredibly potent, specializing in corrupting people's magic weapons and devouring their souls. It's utterly vicious. Ma Yuan, wielding the Blackfire flip, unleashed his mid-foundation establishment aura without reservation. He was far stronger than Zhao Wuji. He was confident that with the Blackfire flip's enhancement, even a late foundation establishment cultivator like himself would be a match for him. Boy, it's your honor to die under my Blackfire flip. Ma Yuan roared, waving the banner in his hand violently. Instantly, a black wind howled, ghosts wailed, and countless visible black, resentful energies surged forth from the flip, converging in midair to form a gigantic skull. The skull's eyes burned with eerie green flames, and its gaping maw, filled with a stench and venomous aura, viciously bit down towards my courtyard. This attack was far more powerful than Zhao Wuji's previous one. The fire dragon was 10 times more powerful than the original, and the entire eastern district of Qingyang City was shrouded in this eerie ghostly aura, darkening the sky. Lu Qingyin's pretty face turned deathly pale. The aura of the black fire made him feel his soul trembling, a fear stemming from his very survival instinct. Yet, I remained calm, even wanting to laugh a little. I shook my head, a hint of disappointment on my face. I thought your Blackfire sect could come up with something decent, but after all this, it's just this kind of low-class stuff. Playing with fire and ghosts here, you've really chosen the wrong place. I slowly raised my hand and gently snapped my fingers towards the huge skull ghost head in the sky. The crisp sound seemed so insignificant against the background of ghostly wails, but the next second, the world fell silent. Suddenly, my upgraded, exquisite cave dwelling burst forth with a dazzling light. No longer the previous three-colored radiance, but a pure, holy, white gold light, like that of crystal. This light, like a rising sun, instantly dispelled all the darkness and gloom. The enormous, ferocious skull head, upon contact with this white gold light, was like snow meeting the blazing sun. A piercing, agonizing scream erupted from its mouth. But it lasted only half a second. Its body, at a visible speed, was purified and dissolved by the holy light, finally turning into a wisp of smoke and completely dissipating into the world. Sunlight once again bathed the earth, as if the cataclysmic scene had never happened. In midair, Ma Yuan was struck as if by lightning, his body trembling violently. He coughed up a mouthful of blood, his face instantly turning ashen. The black fire banner was connected to his mind. The thousands of vengeful spirits gathered within it had been purified in one strike, causing him severe backlash. No, impossible. He stared intently at the black fire banner in his hand, discovering that the banner, originally shrouded in black mist, was now dim. Most of the ghostly faces on it had disappeared, its spirituality greatly diminished, almost turning it into a piece of junk. He looked up at me with a look of utter disbelief, staring at the courtyard beneath my feet radiating a faint white gold halo. What kind of formation is this? His voice was hoarse, filled with endless fear and disbelief. He had roamed the cultivation world for hundreds of years and had never seen such a domineering, so sacred formation. This isn't a formation at all, this is a divine formation. I smiled and shook my head. No, 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 you misunderstand. This is just my family's security system. The latest upgraded evolution mode is specifically designed to counter evil spirits like you. I looked at him and gave him a kind smile. How's the effect? Don't you feel refreshed and your soul elevated? Ma Yuan trembled. He saw from my smile. Seeing something more terrifying than an abyss, he had to escape. He had to escape immediately. This boy wasn't human, he was a monster. This was the only thought in Ma Yuan's mind. Without a second thought, he turned to transform into a streak of light and flee. Hey, don't go. My voice, like a ghost, echoed in his ears. The ransom hasn't been paid yet. How can you just leave like that? It's against the rules to come to my territory without leaving something behind. I pointed lightly in the direction he was fleeing, uttering a single word. Just as Ma Yuan was about to transform into light and escape, his entire body froze in midair, like an insect trapped in amber, frozen in his fleeing posture, unable to move. The expression on his face was frozen in that instant of terror and despair. Zhao Wuji, who had just been beaming with elation, was now completely stunned. He stared at Ma Yuan, frozen in midair, at the black fire blade of the spiritual master, and then at himself, lying calmly in the rocking chair. His last glimmer of hope was shattered. He had truly met his match. No, this wasn't a mere obstacle, it was an ancient divine mountain forged from divine immortal iron and covered with billions of sand dunes. Just then, Ma Yuan was horrified to discover an irresistible suction force emanating from the courtyard below. His body was uncontrollably plummeting towards the spiritual field he had just scorned. No, no. With a final, dignified scream, a muffled thud, Ma Yuan, the mid-foundation establishment elder of the Blackfire Sect's punishment sect, plunged headfirst into the soft soil of the spirit field in a perfect headfirst, feet-up position, leaving only his legs twitching slightly outside. Ding. New fertilizer machine detected. Excellent quality. Forest fertility, +2. Property points, +5. I nodded in satisfaction. Now we have enough manpower. We can consider starting the second phase of the project. I turned to the completely dumbfounded Zhao Wuji and asked kindly, Old Zhao, how much is your senior brother Ma's ransom worth? Zhao Wuji's lips trembled, unable to utter a single word. Worth? How could he know how much it was worth? He only knew that the Blackfire sect was likely to suffer a huge loss this time. The other party had asked for 50,000 for Zhao Wuji, and now they were adding Ma Yuan, who was even stronger and wielded a sect treasure. He didn't dare think any further. Seeing his terrified expression, I didn't bother asking any more questions and turned to look at Lu Qingyan. Miss Lu, it seems your enemies won't be coming back anytime soon. Lu Qingyan finally recovered from her shock. She looked at the two legs still twitching slightly in the field, then at me, her beautiful eyes gleaming. She walked up to me, bowed gracefully, and her tone was filled with unprecedented determination. Sir Qingyan, I have a request, said Qingyan. I wish to spend my life managing this spiritual field for you, sir, and serving you. I only ask that I can stay here. He was completely impressed by my strength in this magical land. He realized that staying here was safer and more promising than going to any prestigious sect. This was the supreme holy land he had always dreamed of. For life, I smiled. No need. I said. We have a proper lease agreement. As long as you pay your rent on time, you can stay as long as you want. However, I changed the subject and looked at him. I'm quite curious about something, I said. Lu Qingyin's heart tightened, and he respectfully asked, Sir, please ask. I will answer whatever I know. It seems that Ma Yuan. He came for you, but from what he said just now, it seems there's something else between you besides hatred. I casually asked. Ma Yuan mentioned earlier that Lu Qingyin has a map, which piqued my interest. For a sect to go to such lengths, even sending 2 Foundation establishment elders to hunt him down, it can't be just simple hatred. Lu Qingyin's delicate body trembled slightly, and her expression became somewhat complicated. She remained silent for a moment, seemingly making a difficult decision. Finally, she took a deep breath, as if she had made up her mind. She carefully took out an ancient fragment from her storage bag, made of some kind of animal hide. The fragment, about the size of a palm, had extremely irregular edges. It was painted with incomprehensible mountains, rivers, and symbols in an ancient cinnabar ink. A desolate, ancient aura emanated from the animal hide. Sir, this is the root cause of my sect's destruction. Lu Qingyin presented the fragment with both hands. This is called the Mysterious Heaven Treasure Map. It is said that the complete map points to a secret realm left behind by an ancient cultivator. My sect, Yinxiao Valley, was wiped out because it unintentionally obtained this fragment. The Blackfire sect's goal was to obtain it. I took the animal hide map. It felt warm and smooth, of extraordinary quality. Ding. Special item detected. Mysterious Heaven Treasure Map Fragment 19. The item description records the location of a fragment of a map containing the cave dwelling of the ancient powerful being, Xiantian, Immortal Lord. It contains a trace of spatial law power. Collecting all 9 fragments will unlock the key to the Xiantian secret realm. The system prompts that this item has extremely high strategic value for the host's real estate empire construction. My eyes lit up. Anything evaluated so highly by the system must be a treasure. Ancient secret realm, I said, stroking the animal hide thoughtfully. Yes, Lu Qingyin said bitterly. It is said that Xiantian Immortal Lord was an unparalleled powerhouse in ancient times, proficient in formations and the Tao of space. His cave dwelling not only contains endless magical treasures and elixirs, but may also contain his insights into the great Tao of space. This map, passed down through generations, was obtained by my sect at the cost of countless lives. I've always kept it close to my body, but unexpectedly, the Blackfire sect found out about it. He looked at me with utmost sincerity, saying, Sir, you have given me a second life. I have no way to repay you. This item is more of a curse than a blessing for me. Today, I offer it to you, sir, only asking that you take me in. He was planning to use this treasure to exchange for long-term residency. I smiled at him. This girl is clever. She knows that keeping this thing is a hot potato for herself. It's better to give it to me, her powerful backer, which will both save her life and earn her favor. However, I, Chen Fan, as the most principled landlord in the cultivation world, have my own rules. I handed the map back to him. Miss Lu, you've got it wrong. Lu Qingyin looked at me, stunned and puzzled. First, I hold up one finger. You are my tenant. Protecting you is a matter of contractual obligation, the landlord's responsibility, and has nothing to do with whether you have this map or not. Second, I hold up a second finger. This map is your private property. As the landlord, I have no right to seize any of my tenants' private belongings. This is my professional ethics. Lu Qingyin was completely dumbfounded. He hadn't expected me to refuse. This was a treasure map related to an ancient inheritance. Not to mention Foundation establishment cultivators. Even old monsters in the golden core and nascent soul stages would fight tooth and nail for it. Sir, you're not tempted? Then, what does sir mean? I said, a slight smile playing on my lips, revealing my signature kind smile. You don't have to give me the map, but you can rent it. Renting Lu Qingyin to me feels like my brain isn't quite up to par. Renting a map? Yes, I snapped my fingers. You leave this map with me for safekeeping, and I'll solve all the trouble caused by this map for you. In return, I'll waive 5 yuan of your monthly rent for snacks. How about that? Also, if I find anything useful through this map in the future, I can give you 10%. Of course, you can also choose to leave now with him. I won't stop you. I handed the choice back to him. Lu Qingyuan looked at me, at my clear and sincere eyes. He knew I wasn't joking. This mysterious and powerful landlord truly only followed his own seemingly absurd, yet incredibly fair rules. His last shred of hesitation vanished. Yun Sen smiled. It was the most genuine smile he'd had since arriving here. Good. He nodded emphatically, pushing the map back towards me. Sir, I'll rent this map. Ding. Congratulations. The host has reached a special item rental agreement with tenant Lu Qingyan. The host has obtained the long-term right to use and safeguard the fragment of the Xiantian treasure map. Agreement completion reward, 500 property points. Unlocks new system function, asset custody. My heart skipped a beat, and I immediately opened the system panel. Next to property management, a brand new option appeared, asset custody test version. Function description. The host can entrust the tenant's valuable items, such as magic weapons, elixirs, rare materials, and maps, to another tenant. During the custody period, the host can obtain partial usage rights to the item and slowly unlock. Analyze item information to gain extra rewards. The hosting advantage is absolute security, isolating all deductions and investigations. Simultaneously, the system will provide the host with a small amount of property points daily based on the value of the hosted items. Good heavens, isn't this just a system-built safe plus an analyzer? Looking at the fragment of the Xiantian treasure map in my hand, I immediately chose to host it. Ding! The fragment of the Xiantian treasure map has been stored in the asset hosting vault. It can provide the host with property points daily. Confirmed. Item analysis in progress. Current progress, 0.1%. Estimated completion time, 30 days. 10 points per day. That's higher than the combined output of my houses and fields. This is definitely worth it. After dealing with the map, my gaze fell on the two new laborers. Zhao Wuji was already terrified and trembling. With a rustling sound, I pulled Ma Yuan out of the ground. Ma Yuan was weak and pale. After I immobilized him, he had absorbed a lot of spiritual energy from Ling Tian's array, leaving him completely exhausted. You too. I cleared my throat. Given that your sect's lack of sincerity in paying the ransom and the fact that you sent people to cause trouble, the ransom is now doubled to 100,000 low-grade spirit stones per person. You can leave when the snacks are delivered. Before that, I pointed to the vast spirit field that was your new home. Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan exchanged a glance, both seeing endless despair and sorrow in each other's eyes. Two Foundation establishment cultivators reduced to farmers. If word got out, they and the Blackfire sect would become a laughingstock throughout the cultivation world. But they dared not resist, having no choice but to accept my fate. With two Foundation establishment stage cultivators acting as super fertilizers, the fertility of my spiritual field began to soar at a visible rate. In just one day, my spiritual field, which was originally only at the early stage of the mid-grade spiritual level, already showed signs of breaking through to the mid-grade. My accumulated property points also exceeded 1,000. It was time to proceed with the next step of industrial expansion. I opened the upgrade options for my premium cave dwelling. 1. Pill Refining Room Basic, 800 property points. 2. Weapon Forging Room Basic, 800 property points. 3. Cultivation Basic, 500 property points. Without hesitation, I chose the pill refining room. After all, pills are the hard currency of the cultivation world and the easiest way to attract high-quality tenants. Ding. Confirmed, 800 points consumed. The initial construction of the alchemy room using property points has been confirmed. With a thought, a previously empty plot of land on the west side of the courtyard shimmered with light, the earth churned, and a quaint and elegant little house, entirely built of bluestone, rose from the ground. The roof of the house even had a specially designed smoke extraction system, a very professional design. The initial construction of the ice alchemy room is complete. Functions include a built-in low-grade spiritual fire vein, which can increase the success rate of pills of grade 3 and below by 30%, and has a certain chance to improve the quality of the pills. Evaluation. For any alchemist, this is a dream studio, a perfect workshop. A 30% increase in the success rate and the ability to improve the quality of the pills. My eyes widened. If this were rented out, the rent would be plentiful. Everything is ready, all that's missing is an alchemist. He chuckled and pulled out that tried-and-true rental notice talisman again. This time, however, his requirements were more specific. System, find me the most talented but also the poorest alchemist within 100 miles. I want the kind of unappreciated talent who desperately needs a platform to prove his potential. Once this kind of tenant is secured, the future income will be endless. The command received, searching for the most suitable potential tenant, was transformed into a golden light and vanished into the sky. This time, the golden light didn't fly into the wilderness, but into Qingyang City. Deep in a dilapidated alley in the southern district of Qingyang City, an old man with white hair and beard, dressed in rags, reeking of medicinal residue and alcohol, was being led by several employees dressed in Baiketang uniforms. He was roughly shoved out of a pharmacy. Get out, you old swindler. You come to our 100 Herbs Hall every day to buy herbs on credit, and all you produce are a bunch of useless pills. You dare call yourself a master alchemist? If you dare come back, we'll break your legs. The old man stumbled and fell to the ground. The few herbs he had painstakingly scraped together to buy scattered everywhere. He looked at the disdainful eyes of the shop assistants, a hint of resentment and anger flashing in his cloudy old eyes. What do you know? My alchemy is beyond the comprehension of you mortals. When I refine the yin-yang reversal pill, you'll all be amazed. Ha ha. The yin-yang reversal pill? I've never even heard of it. The shop assistants burst into laughter. Drunkard, I think you're still dreaming. The old man struggled to his feet, carefully gathering the scattered medicinal herbs. His hunched back led him forlornly into the depths of the alley. His name was Gu Chun. He had once been an inner disciple of a certain alchemy sect, exceptionally talented. However, because he was obsessed with studying various ancient texts and formulas, and didn't follow the conventional path, he was considered a heretic by the sect and ultimately expelled. After ending up in Qingyang City, he was impoverished. His cultivation at the peak of the 9th level of qi refining remained unbroken due to a lack of resources. No good alchemy furnace, no earth fire. All his efforts were poured into those seemingly impractical single-herb formulas. Just as he was becoming disheartened and preparing to find as he finished his last drink and prepared to end his life, a golden light descended from the sky, landing precisely in front of him. It transformed into a notice radiating a faint spiritual light, seeking tenants. A top-tier alchemy room is available. It contains spiritual fire and a ley line that can significantly enhance the quality of alchemy masters and pills. Rent is negotiable. Pills can be used to offset debts. Address: East End of the city. Those with affinity come natural. Landlord: Mr. Chun. Gu Chun stared at the notice, first stunned, then scoffing. Liar. What kind of deceptive trick is this? Top-tier alchemy room. Even the Chun family's alchemy room in the entire Qingyang City is only considered mid to low grade. Where did this top tier come from? He was about to throw the notice away when he suddenly smelled a faint fragrance emanating from it. The faint aura emanating from it was something he had just barely noticed. He suddenly leaned closer and sniffed hard. His eyes widened instantly. It was the aura of the earth vein spirit fire, and so pure, of extremely high quality. It was genuine. Gu Cheng's breathing quickened instantly. His long-dormant heart began to pound wildly. He grabbed the revelation as if it were his last lifeline and ran like a madman toward the east of the city. Gu Cheng stumbled and staggered until he reached the far east end of the city. He immediately saw that unique little courtyard. The courtyard was shrouded in a faint white-gold halo, and the spiritual energy was almost tangible, swirling within it. At the entrance was an overly young man was leisurely reclining in a rocking chair, seemingly waiting for him. You're Mr. Chin? Gu Chen asked incredulously, panting heavily. This was so different from the image of the ethereal alchemy master he had imagined. I opened my eyes and sized up the old man, who reeked of alcohol but had unusually bright eyes. He was at the peak of the 9th level of qi refining, with a solid foundation and a faint trace of mixed alchemical firepower within him. Yes, he's a man. He is me. I nodded. You're here to rent the alchemy room? Yes, yes. Gu Chen nodded repeatedly, his gaze eagerly fixed on the courtyard. May I ask, sir, which top-tier alchemy room is mentioned in the notice? Go in and see for yourself. The one on the west side is it. I waved my hand, and Gu Chen rushed into the courtyard impatiently. When he pushed open the door of the small bluestone house on the west side, he froze, a burning sensation. A surge of hot, Pure fire elemental spiritual energy washed over him. In the center of the room stood an ancient bronze alchemy furnace. Beneath the furnace, runes of a magical array flickered, and a steady, vibrant pale blue earth fire blazed fiercely. The walls of the entire room were etched with array patterns for gathering spiritual energy, calming the mind, and detoxifying. Crackling sounds. Gu Chun trembled as he reached out and touched the cool furnace, feeling the pure earth fire's aura. Tears streamed down his face. This was absolutely a divine-grade alchemy room. He had searched his entire life, never expecting it to actually exist. He turned back to look at me, his gaze shifting from doubt to fervent worship. He knelt down with a thud. Junior Guchen pays respects to Senior. Senior's grace of rebirth is unforgettable. In his eyes, only some old monster who played the mortal world could possess such a divine abode. It's just that he looks young. All right, get up. I felt a little uncomfortable with his big bow. Don't call me Senior, just call me Landlord. Let's talk about the rent, Mr. Landlord. Huchin stood up excitedly and said, This junior has nothing of value but my alchemy skills. As long as you are willing to rent this alchemy room to me, from now on, I will only take 30% of all the pills I refine after deducting the cost. The remaining 70% will all be yours. He offered an extremely low price because he knew that being able to use such an alchemy room was a tremendous opportunity for him. 70%. I touched my chin. Too much. Gu Chun was stunned. Too much? There's a landlord who thinks the rent is too high? How about this? I said 50-50. We'll each get half of the pills you refine, but you have to give me priority in refining the materials for the pills I need. I thank you so much, Mr. Landlord. Gu Chun was so grateful, he almost knelt down again. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have successfully rented out the alchemy room. Beginner tenant. Gu Chun, peak 9th level in weapon crafting, alchemy prodigy. Tenant binding successful. Rent format. 50% for alchemy, 10% for pills. Detection. Tenant is extremely satisfied with the alchemy room. Emotionally excited, converting spiritual energy. Host cultivation level is starting to increase automatically. Another warm current surged into my body. My cultivation level officially broke through from the 8th level of chi refining to the 9th level. So satisfying. After signing the contract, Gu Chen plunged into the alchemy room, locking himself inside and starting a frenzied alchemy experiment. My little courtyard became even more lively. To the east, Lu Qingyan was carefully tending to the spiritual herbs. In the middle of the spiritual field, 2 foundation establishment cultivators were sweating profusely as they tilled the land. To the west, the alchemy room occasionally echoed with the sound of exploding furnaces. Amidst the jubilant laughter of the ancient city, I lay on a rocking chair in the center of the courtyard, watching this thriving scene. I felt like I had reached the pinnacle of my life. However, new problems arose. With so many people, management became an issue. For example, which plot of land should Zhao Wuji and the others till today? How much water should they irrigate? What materials would Gu Chen need for alchemy? And how should the resulting pills be stored and distributed? If I had to handle all these trivial matters, how could I comfortably relax? I needed a steward, someone who could handle these chores so I could be a hands-off manager. My gaze naturally fell on Lu Qingyan. He was meticulous, responsible, and loyal to me, the best candidate. I called Lu Qingyan to my side. Miss Lu, I said, there have been so many people in the courtyard lately, I can't manage them all by myself. Lu Qingyan immediately understood and bowed, saying, Sir, if you have any orders, Qingyan will gladly give them my life. It's not that serious. I smiled and redeemed a new item appeared, a white jade token engraved with the ancient character, Ling Command. Its basic function was a property management token. The holder was authorized by the host to exercise certain management authority within the territory. Authority included directing labor reform personnel, allocating some resources, and recording output and consumption. Within the territory, the holder would be protected by the territory's earthquake law and immune to any malicious attacks from labor reform personnel. I handed this token to Lu Qingyan. From today onwards, you are my head steward. You will be in charge of all the people and affairs in the courtyard, including the 2 farmers and the alchemist. You will record and allocate their needs and outputs. You only need to report to me once a day. Lu Qingyan held the warm jade token, feeling the wondrous power within it connected to the entire courtyard's array. A surge of emotions welled up within him. Head steward, this is giving you complete control of the entire courtyard. Entrusting him with this task shows immense trust. I doubt he could shoulder such responsibility. He was both apprehensive and excited. I said, if you can do it, then you can do it. I waved my hand, leaving no room for doubt. Take this, I said firmly. If they misbehave, use this token to whip them. Lu Qingyan nodded heavily, his eyes becoming incredibly resolute. Yes, sir, he said. Qingyan will certainly not fail you. From then on, my lying down project officially entered its 2.0 era. The only thing I needed to do each day was listen to Lu Qingyan report the day's harvest in his clear, melodious voice at dusk. Sir, today the spiritual field produced 37 grade 1 blood coagulating grasses and 3 grade 2 fresh lotuses. Zhao Ma and his 2 employees reclaimed 1 acre of wasteland today, significantly improving the fertility of the spiritual field. Master Gu refined 3 batches of qi gathering pills today, totaling 27, all of superior quality. In addition, he exploded 2 batches, consuming. Listening to these reports, I only needed to nod occasionally. This was how I acted as a hands-off manager, strategizing and planning. The feeling of being in the alchemy room was even more enjoyable than cultivating on my own. However, this leisurely life didn't last long. One day, Gu Chen ran out of the alchemy room with an excited yet slightly embarrassed expression. Landlord, what's wrong? Did the furnace explode again? Gu Chen shook his head excitedly, then said with a bitter face, I've been researching an ancient pill formula called the soul-nourishing pill. I'm about 70% sure about it now, but I'm still missing one crucial ingredient. What is it? The heartwood of a 1,000-year-old soul-soothing wood. Gu Chen said, this is extremely rare. It's said that it can only be formed after absorbing the essence of the sun and moon for 1,000 years at the intersection of extremely yin or extremely yang places. I heard that there seems to be such a place within the Black Fire sect's territory. Soul-soothing wood heartwood. I repeated the name. Black Fire sect's territory. This is troublesome. I can't very well personally go to the Black Fire sect's gate for a piece of wood, can I? That's not in line with my laid-back persona. Landlord, this matter is not urgent. Gu Chen saw my frown and hurriedly said, this junior was just mentioning it casually. It's all right if I can't master it, I'll research other formulas. He was afraid his request would cause me trouble. I waved my hand, signaling him to calm down. Then I turned my gaze to Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan, who were diligently fertilizing the field. Hey, you two, come here for a moment. Zhao and Ma, hearing the summons, came running over with utmost respect. After these few days of labor, they had all their rough edges smoothed out. Senior, what are your orders? I asked directly. Does your Blackfire sect possess soul-soothing wood? Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan exchanged a glance, both seeing surprise in each other's eyes. Ma Yuan, as the elder of punishments, knew more secrets. He quickly nodded and bowed, saying, replying to Senior, there is indeed a 1,000-year-old soul-soothing wood growing beside the Yinsha pool, a forbidden area behind the sect. It is a treasure of the sect, personally guarded by the Supreme Elder. Supreme Elder, yes. Our Blackfire sect's only Golden Core Stage ancestor, Ma Yuan, added, Golden Core Stage. This is even more troublesome. Although I'm practically invincible within my own territory, the system has warned me that once I leave the territory, my strength is only my true cultivation level. I'm currently at the 9th level of Qi refining. Going to a sect with a Golden Core ancestor to steal things is like an old man hanging himself, courting death. It seems I'll have to find another way. All right, that's all for you. Go back to work. I waved for them to leave. It seems I'll have to plan carefully if I want to get that piece of wood. However, Gu Chen's ordinary medicinal herbs for alchemy are almost used up. I also scavenged a lot of snacks and miscellaneous items from the storage bags I confiscated from Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan. Keeping these things takes up space. I might as well sell them at the market and exchange them for snacks, and then buy a batch of alchemy materials. It's time to go out for a walk. I stood up from the rocking chair. I've been in this world for so long, and I haven't left my little corner of the world even once. It's a good opportunity to see what the markets of this world are like. Qingyan, I called out, sir. Lu Qingyan immediately put down his work and came to my side. I'm going out for a while. Go to the housing market to buy some things. I'm leaving the house in your care while I'm gone, I instructed. Those 2 farmers and that alchemist are all under your supervision. If any fools come looking for trouble, don't hesitate to activate the highest level of defensive formation. Yes, sir. Lu Qingyan nodded solemnly. Don't worry, sir, I nodded. Qingyan will definitely protect the house. I changed into a clean blue robe, suppressed my cultivation aura to around the 5th or 6th level of qi refining, and prepared to leave. Just as I was about to step out of the courtyard gate, the system notification sounded. Ding! Warning! Host is about to leave the territory. After leaving the territory, the absolute domain effect will temporarily fail. Host strength will return to their true cultivation level. Resentment will be 90%. Please be aware. Safety first. Be cautious and don't cause trouble. I understand. I'm just going for a stroll. I muttered to myself, stepped out of the courtyard, and as soon as I stepped outside, that feeling of absolute control and absolute power disappeared. In its place was the normal perception that a qi refining cultivator at the 90% stage should have. However, this feeling was quite novel. I followed the route I remembered and headed towards the most bustling market town of Qingyang City. The market town of Qingyang City was built in the city center and covered a vast area. The streets were lined with shops, including pill shops, magic weapon shops, and fortune shops, offering everything imaginable. The streets were bustling with people, all of whom were cultivators in a hurry, ranging in cultivation from the early to late stages of qi refining. Occasionally, I could even see 1 or 2 foundation establishment cultivators with a steady aura. I was met with awe from the surrounding crowd. Along the roadside, many independent cultivators had spread out cloths on the ground, displaying the materials from the monsters they had hunted or the spiritual herbs they had gathered, selling their wares. The sounds of hawking and haggling filled the air, creating a lively, bustling atmosphere. This feeling, a familiar comfort to this former office worker, was strangely comforting. I randomly found a corner and, like the other cultivators, took out several low-grade spiritual weapons I had looted from the Blackfire sect disciples, along with some unused pills, and laid them out on the ground. Not long after I finished, a sharp, sarcastic voice rang in my ears. Oh, who is this? Isn't this Chen Fan, the great genius of our Chen family? I looked up and saw that repulsive face. My cheap cousin Chun Hao was standing there with 2 lackeys, looking at me with a mocking expression. He'd been quiet for a while after I scared him off at our doorstep, but I didn't expect to run into him again today. Why aren't you hiding in your shabby yard like a coward, running around setting up a stall? Chun Hao looked down at me, his tone full of contempt. Go, go, go. You're a disgrace to the Chen family. I couldn't be bothered with him, not even lifting an eyelid. Ignoring such a small fry was the best response. Seeing that I didn't speak, Chen Hao thought I was scared and became even more smug. He kicked the flying sword I had laid out on the ground, cursing. What kind of trash is this? You dare to put it up for sale? Put it away and get lost. Don't make this mess. My gaze instantly turned cold as I looked at the housing market. I can ignore you, but you can't touch my things. I slowly stood up, looked at him calmly, and said, pick it up, put it back where it was, and apologize. What? You want me to apologize to a piece of trash like you? Chen Hao seemed to have heard the biggest joke in the world. Are you out of your mind? I'll kick it. What can you do to me? He said, and then kicked another magical artifact hard. However, his foot stopped in midair. A hand, like an iron clamp, tightly gripped his ankle. I don't know when I appeared in front of him. Didn't you hear what I just said? My voice was very calm, but it sounded like a chill from the deepest hell to Chen Hao's ears. Bing Chen Hao's face instantly changed. He tried to pull his foot back, but found my hand as immovable as a mountain. A tremendous force surged from his ankle, causing him to break out in a cold sweat. You let go of me. Chen Hao exclaimed in shock and anger. Chen Fan, what are you doing? This is the housing market. Private fights are prohibited. I didn't intend to fight, I said calmly. I'm just helping you put your foot back where it should be. As I spoke, I slightly tightened my wrist, and a crisp cracking sound rang out. Chen Hao let out a pig-like scream, lost his balance, clutched his deformed ankle, and fell to the ground, writhing in pain. The 2 lackeys behind him were dumbfounded. They never imagined that this person, whom they had always known as a sick, that listless good for Nothing dared to lay such a heavy hand on Chun Hao in the market. And his speed and strength, they didn't even see how I moved. The surrounding cultivators were also attracted by the commotion, pointing, and whispering. Isn't that Chun Hao from the Chin family? How come he got beaten up? Serves him right. This guy always bullies others in the market. He's really messed with us today. Hey, the boy who beat him up seems to be from the Chin family too. Just then, two cultivators dressed in market enforcement uniforms, both at the 8th level of Qi refining, quickly approached. What's going on? Who dares to cause trouble at the Fong family's place? The leading enforcement cultivator shouted sternly. Chun Hao, seeing the enforcement team arrive, looked like he'd seen a savior, enduring the excruciating pain as he pointed. I'm the one who accused you first. Your Honor, help. This Chun fan has injured someone without cause and disrespected the Fong clan's rules. Arrest him immediately. The enforcer's gaze fell on me, his brow furrowing. You did it? I nodded, saying calmly. He kicked me first, overturning my stall. I was just acting in self-defense. You're lying. Chun Hao roared. I just accidentally bumped into him. You deliberately used excessive force and crippled my leg. Oh, I smiled and looked at the enforcer. Your Honor, everyone around has seen what happened. Who's right and who's wrong is easy to find out. The enforcer glanced at the surrounding crowd, and immediately several rogue cultivators who disapproved of Chun Hao's usual behavior stepped forward to speak up for justice. We can testify that Chun Hao provoked us first and even tried to damage their things, which is why that guy attacked. We all saw it. The enforcement cultivator's face darkened upon hearing this. His eyes filled with disgust as he looked at Chun Hao. He crouched down to examine Chun Hao's injuries and coldly snorted. It's just a fractured ankle. He'll recover in a month or two. He won't die. For causing trouble in the Fong family, you should be expelled. But considering you're a member of the Chin family, the Fong family will only fine you 100 low-grade spirit stones as a warning to others. As for you, he stood up and looked at me. Although the other party provoked me first, his attack was also heavy and violated the rules. I'll fine you 10 low-grade spirit stones. Any objections? This judgment seems like a 5,050 split, but it's actually biased towards me. No, I simply took out 10 spirit stones and handed them over. I'm not satisfied. Chun Hao was still shouting. He crippled my leg, and he only fined me 10 spirit stones? I'm going to the enforcement hall to report him. Shut up. The enforcement cultivator impatiently shouted. If you dare to make a sound again, I'll arrest you too. He then ignored Chun Hao and pressed him down. He made his lackey pay the fine before leaving dejectedly, and the commotion subsided. I squatted down again and arranged the things on the ground as if nothing had happened, but the way the cultivators around me looked at me had completely changed. A young man who could easily cripple a Qi refining level 3 cultivator and remain unfazed in front of the enforcement team was definitely not a good person. For a moment, my stall became much quieter, which suited me just fine. Just when I thought I could finally have some peace and quiet, a slightly surprised voice rang out beside me. Chun Fan, is that you? I turned around and saw a young man wearing the Chun family steward's uniform standing behind me, looking at me with a complicated expression. I am Chun Yu, the family steward who once gave me a bottle of pills and is considered quite upright. Yuji nodded to me as a greeting. Chun Yu's gaze lingered on me for a long time, his eyes filled with inquiry and incomprehension. Your health is better. Thanks to a chance encounter some time ago, your old ailments have all healed. I casually explained. I saw what happened just now. Chun Yu sighed. Although Chun Hao is arrogant, you went too far. He's the patriarch's nephew. After all, you'll get yourself into big trouble like this. I laughed. Trouble is the thing I fear least. Chun Yu shook his head, seeing my unyielding attitude, as if he wanted to say something more. Just then, a melodious bell rang out from the largest 3-story pavilion in the city center. The bell's sound echoed throughout the entire city, and the once bustling streets instantly quieted down. Everyone's eyes turned to the pavilion. On the pavilion's plaque, 3 large characters were written in a flamboyant style. Treasure Pavilion. The Treasure Pavilion's auction is about to begin. I heard there are many good things at this auction. Come on, let's go see." The crowd began to surge towards the treasure pavilion. Yu, no longer able to persuade me, said, "It's the treasure pavilion's monthly auction. Perhaps there's something you need there. I'll go take a look too. You'd better watch out." After saying that, he hurriedly followed the crowd. The auction. I looked at the few pieces of tattered clothing on the ground and then touched the huge sum of money, several thousand yuan worth of snacks, in my storage bag. It's good to go and see. Maybe with a bit of luck I'll find what I need, like the Tomb of Requiem. I packed up my stall and followed the crowd to the treasure pavilion, the biggest money pit in Xinjiang City. Inside, it was bustling with noise. The first floor was a large hall, packed with ordinary rogue cultivators or scions of small families. The second floor consisted of individual private rooms, only accessible to those of high status or wealthy patrons who had paid enough spirit stones. I casually found an inconspicuous corner in the hall and sat down quietly, waiting for the auction to begin. Soon, a still attractive middle-aged beauty walked onto the auction stage. "Welcome, fellow Taoists, to the monthly auction of Jubioj." Yunyang, the chief auctioneer of Jubioj, has a clear and melodious voice with a unique charm. Without further ado, let's look at our first item. As she finished speaking, a maidservant came forward carrying a tray covered with a red cloth. Yunyang lifted the red cloth, revealing a vibrant green spiritual herb, the second-grade spiritual medicine ice heart grass, emanating a faint chill. It is the main ingredient for refining ice attribute pills. The starting price is 50 low-grade spirit stones, and each bid must be at least 5.60 spirit stones. In fact, the atmosphere of the auction quickly became lively. One by one, the auction items were brought out: elixirs, magical artifacts, blessings, and even a fragmented cultivation manual. I looked on with great interest, but didn't make a move. These things didn't hold much appeal for me. Until the 10th item was brought out, a piece of wood about the thickness of an arm, jet black, radiating a cool aura. Yunyang's voice became much more solemn. "The next item, I believe, will be useful to many fellow cultivators. It's a third-grade spiritual material called soul-soothing wood. This wood is a treasure for calming the mind and resisting inner demons, whether worn during cultivation and meditation or crafted into a magical artifact. They all have miraculous effects, especially for those who cultivate soul techniques or are preparing to break through bottlenecks. They are invaluable treasures." My eyes lit up instantly. Although the soul-soothing wood is not a 1,000-year-old heartwood, but just an ordinary 100-year-old branch, it is enough for Guchun to conduct preliminary experiments. It's truly a case of finding something without even looking for it. This piece of soul-soothing wood weighs about 10 g. The starting price is 500 low-grade spirit stones. Each bid must be at least 50 stones. Let the bidding begin. As soon as Yunyang finished speaking, the audience erupted in cheers. 500, 500, 600. I bid 700. The price soared, quickly surpassing 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. I didn't rush to bid, quietly watching them vie for it. Finally, when the price climbed to 1,300 low-grade spirit stones, the noise from the audience gradually subsided. After all, this was just a piece of auxiliary spiritual material for most chi refining cultivators. Spending over 1,000 spirit stones on it wasn't cost-effective. 1,300? Anyone else offering higher prices? If not, this piece of soul-soothing wood will belong to this fellow cultivator. Yunyang surveyed the entire audience, preparing to deliver the final blow. 1,500. A calm voice rang out from the corner where I was sitting. Instantly, all eyes were focused on me. When they saw that the bidder was an ordinary-looking young man, they all showed surprise. The cultivator who bid 1,300 was a burly man with a face full of scars. He glared at me fiercely and finally sat down reluctantly. 1,500 yuan. This young man bid 1,500 yuan. Is there anyone higher? Yunyang's face showed a professional smile. Just as he was about to place the hammer, a clear and cold female voice suddenly came from a private room on the second floor. 2,000 yuan. The voice was not loud, but it clearly carried throughout the entire venue. Wow, the whole venue was in an uproar. He directly raised the price by 500 yuan. This kind of move clearly indicated that he was a big shot. Everyone looked curiously at the private room, wondering which big shot was also interested in this Tomb of Requiem. My brows also furrowed slightly. I didn't expect Qing Yaojin to appear out of nowhere. 3,000 yuan. I followed the bid without hesitation. I had collected nearly 10,000 yuan worth of snacks from Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan. I was full of confidence. My goal was simple, to use money to win quickly and decisively. However, the woman in the private room seemed to be challenging me as well. 4,000 yuan. The cold voice rang out again, still so nonchalant, as if 4,000 spirit stones were no different from 4 coins in his eyes. The cultivators in the hall were completely dumbfounded. They weren't watching an auction anymore, they were watching God's fight. For a mere piece of 100-year-old soul-soothing wood flower, for 1,000 low-grade spirit stones, this was utterly insane. My face also darkened. This guy was deliberately targeting me. 5,000. My voice turned cold as I raised my bid again. This price far exceeded the intrinsic value of the soul-soothing wood. I wanted to see who this person was. A moment of silence fell over the private room. Just when everyone thought the woman was about to give up, she raised the price again. 5,100. Although it was only 100, her determination to hold her ground was unmistakable. I narrowed my eyes. Interesting. I was just about to continue bidding, overwhelming her with sheer financial power, when suddenly a telepathic message reached my ears. It was the woman's voice. Fellow Taoist, would you be willing to part with this item? It is of life-saving value to me. If you are willing to part with it, my Qingzhou sword sect will reward you handsomely. I am Ling Shuang, a disciple of the Qingzhou sword sect. The news I'd heard in the market flashed through my mind. The sect that was currently vying for territory with the Blackfire sect, and her name was Ling Shuang. Before I could respond, Yunyang on the auction stage began the countdown. 5,100 once, 5,100 twice. Since this fellow Taoist is not raising the price any further, then this soul-soothing wood is worth 10,000. I finally uttered a chilling number that sent a collective gasp through the room. It wasn't out of spite, the system had just given a sudden ding, triggering a hidden quest clue: redemption of a golden core cultivator. The quest message stated that Bitter Ling Shuang's master, a powerful golden core cultivator, suffered a cultivation mishap, damaging his soul and urgently needing a soul-nourishing pill. Soul-soothing wood was essential for refining this pill. The quest recommended acquiring this item, a highly profitable long-term investment. I love investing, especially investing in a powerful golden core cultivator. If I succeeded, collecting rent on the green bamboo sword sect's territory would be a breeze. Therefore, I had to acquire this piece of wood, 10,000. When I uttered this number, the entire treasure pavilion fell into a deathly silence. Everyone stared at me as if I were a monster. Even Yunyang on the auction stage gaped, unable to close her mouth for a long time. 10,000 low-grade spirit stones for a piece of 100-year-old soul-soothing wood. This wasn't madness. It was insane. The second-floor private rooms also fell into a long silence. Clearly my bid. The price completely stunned Fairy Ling Shuang from the green bamboo sword sect. Fellow Taoist, you are Ling Shuang's voice transmission again, came the voice, trembling slightly with confusion. Excuse me, I'll send a voice transmission back in the same way. Her tone was calm. I also need to joke about this. This is a strategic investment related to the future expansion of our real estate empire. How could I let it go? No sound came from the private room. Obviously, 10,000 yuan worth of snacks was beyond his limit. 10,000 yuan once, 10,000 yuan twice, 10,000 yuan 3 times. Yunyang finally came to her senses and used all her strength to knock on the door. Congratulations, fellow Taoist, on successfully bidding for the grade 3 spiritual material, the soul-soothing wood. His voice was slightly distorted. Amidst everyone's admiring gazes, I walked expressionlessly backstage. Under the awe-inspiring eyes of the treasure pavilion cultivators, I paid the spirit stones and took away the priceless piece of wood. As I left the treasure pavilion, a figure blocked my way. It was the bitter Ling Shuang. She wore an elegant cyan dress, carried an ancient longsword on her back, and possessed a stunningly beautiful face, yet remained cold and aloof, like a fairy untouched by worldly concerns. However, at that moment, her clear, cold eyes, with a hint of anxiety and pleading, I asked calmly, fellow Taoist, please wait. I have something to say. Ling Shuang bowed deeply to me. I knew my request was abrupt, But that piece of soul-soothing wood was crucial to my master's life. I was willing to buy it back from you at double the price. Please grant my request. I refused decisively. Ling Shuang's pretty face paled. He bit his lip, seemingly surprised by my firm refusal. He took out a token from his storage bag and handed it to me. This is a VIP token from our Qingzhou Sword Sect, he said. Fellow Taoist, as long as you are willing to part with it, our Qingzhou Sword Sect will offer you a reward that will satisfy you. My master is a golden core cultivator. If I can save him, his favor will be invaluable. He began to offer even greater rewards. A favor from a golden core cultivator was an irresistible temptation for any qi refining cultivator. But was I an ordinary qi refining cultivator? I was a man determined to become the strongest landlord in the cultivation world. Can favors be exchanged for land deeds? Can they be used as rent? That's too abstract. What I need are tangible benefits. Your master needs soul-nourishing pills, I suddenly asked. Ling Shuang was startled, her beautiful eyes flashing with astonishing brilliance. Fellow Taoist, how do you know? The recipe for soul-nourishing pills has long been lost, and very few people know it. He hadn't expected to be approached by such a young-looking boy. Not only do I know, but I can also practice it, I said casually. Of course I can practice it. It's not me, it's my tenant Gu Chun. But that's not important. Gu Chun's is mine. Ling Shuang was truly shocked this time. He excitedly stepped forward and grabbed my arm. Fellow Taoist, is this true? You really can refine the soul-nourishing pill. I looked at him and gave him a kind, professional smile. However, refining pills requires resources, and pills of the soul-nourishing pill level are extremely risky. If it fails, Ling Shuang immediately understood and said without hesitation, Fellow Taoist, rest assured, regardless of success or failure, all materials will be provided by my Qingzhou Sword Sect. As long as you are willing to help, whatever conditions you propose, as long as my sect can do it, we will never refuse. Good. Your words are enough. Nodding in satisfaction, I realized this was the attitude an investor should have. The conditions were simple. I held up one finger. I wouldn't go to your Qingzhou Sword Sect, it's too far, and I'm too lazy to travel. You can send people with the materials to my location. I'll rent my alchemy room to your alchemists. Of course, the head alchemist must be one of my people. Ling Shuang was stunned. There's such a thing? Why? He wondered, puzzled. I succinctly uttered 2 words. My alchemy room and my people can guarantee the highest success rate. As for the rent, seeing his true intentions revealed, I finally stated my ultimate goal. I don't want your spirit stones or favors. After the pills are refined, I want the sunny, 10-mile-wide area of Qingzhou slope outside your Qingzhou Sword Sect's mountain gate. I want the land deed. Ba slowly opened her beautiful eyes, which were filled with disbelief. He had considered countless conditions I might propose, magic weapons, cultivation techniques, spirit stones, but he never expected that what I wanted was a piece of land, a hillside outside their sect. Although the spiritual energy was good, it was only suitable for growing bamboo and wasn't very useful. How could this person's thought process be so unique? Just as Ling Shuang was still unable to extricate herself from the shock, the system's notification sounded in my mind like heavenly music. Ding! Congratulations, host, you have achieved a cross-regional real estate investment intention. This triggers the epic chain mission, the foundation stone of the real estate empire. The first stage of the mission is successfully completed, and you have successfully refined the soul-nourishing pill and obtained the green bamboo slope land deed. Mission reward, 10,000 property points. The system shop has been fully upgraded, and a special building blueprint and cross-realm teleportation array are rewarded. Remnant interdimensional teleportation array. I was overjoyed. This was exactly what a landlord needed. With it, I could stay home and expand my properties throughout the entire cultivation world. Looking at Ling Shuang's astonished face, my smile became even more sincere. So, Fairy Ling Shuang, will your Qingzhou Sword Sect take this investment? Ling Shuang took a deep breath, looking into my deep, all-seeing eyes, and finally nodded heavily. Yes, I promise. I'll go back to the sect and report to my elders. He shoved the VIP token into my hand, hurriedly transforming into a sword light and soaring into the sky. I weighed the token in my hand, then glanced at the priceless, soul-soothing wood in my storage bag, and turned contentedly towards my cozy nest. However, before I even left the room, suddenly, a dazzling, seven-colored light shot up from the direction of the courtyard. The light, like a pillar piercing the heavens and earth, illuminated half the sky with vibrant colors. Immediately following, an extremely rich, sweet fragrance of pills, accompanied by a wild, unrestrained laugh, rang out from afar. Huh. My yin-yang reversal pill has finally achieved its extraordinary effect. A top-grade precious pill has been born. Just one breath of this fragrance makes one feel their cultivation bottleneck loosen. It was that mysterious courtyard in the east of the city again. Looking at the towering seven-colored light, the smile on my face instantly froze. Damn it, this old man has caused such a commotion. Now I can't even keep a low profile. The seven-colored light shot into the sky. The fragrance filled the city. My small courtyard at the far east end of the city had become the center of a storm in Qingyang City. The seven-colored light was like a miracle. The rich fragrance of the pills, piercing the sky, seemed to have grown legs and relentlessly penetrated the nostrils of every cultivator in the city, domineeringly stirring the dormant spiritual energy within them. In an instant, countless divine senses, strong and weak, converged madly towards the east of the city like sharks smelling blood. Then, streaks of light ripped through the sky, rushing from all directions towards my house. Damn it! I stood on the street of the market, looking at the incredibly flashy, seven-colored beam of light on my roof, and couldn't help but curse under my breath. All the low-key, mysterious persona I had painstakingly cultivated had been ruined by that one shout. Now the whole city knows I have a treasure at home. I packed up my things, too lazy to wander around anymore, and disappeared into the crowd in a flash, moving at top speed. I hurried home, and when I returned to the courtyard gate, it was already surrounded by layers of people, making it impossible to move. Leading the way were several Foundation establishment cultivators with composed auras. Among them was a middle-aged man wearing the official robes of the city lord's mansion, whose dignified face was none other than Li Tiangang, the city lord of Qingyang City, a powerful expert in the late Foundation establishment stage. Standing beside him was our Chun family patriarch, my uncle Chun Tianxiong. Chun Tianxiong's expression was extremely complex. He showed shock at witnessing such a celestial phenomenon, and his eyes couldn't hide his greed. But even more so, he showed deep apprehension towards my courtyard. He was accompanied by several family elders, including the steward Chun Yu whom I had encountered during my last visit. Besides them, there were also the patriarchs of several other major families in the city, all staring expectantly at the courtyard, exchanging glances. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Lordly, the emergence of such a precious pill is truly a blessing for Qingyang City, one clan leader asked flatteringly. I wonder who this expert is who is refining pills here. Li Tiangang didn't answer. He just stared intently at the tightly closed courtyard gate, his eyes grave. He could sense that this seemingly ordinary courtyard was shrouded in a powerful array that even made his heart tremble. He dared not make a move. Just then, I squeezed through the crowd. Old Xia, make way, you're blocking my doorway, I said calmly. The onlookers turned around and, seeing it was me, consciously made way. In Qingyang City, my face was now a kind of pass. I ignored everyone's shocked and inquisitive gazes and walked straight to the courtyard gate, as if these Foundation establishment stage experts, the neighbors, Chun Fan and Chun Tianxiong, who were just watching, instinctively called out to me, their voices carrying a hint of nervousness they themselves didn't realize. Li Tiangang's gaze fell on me like lightning. You're the owner of this courtyard? I nodded, took out my keys, and prepared to open the door. What's wrong, Lordly? You've brought so many people to my door. Is there something you need? Are you going to demolish my house? Li Tiangang was taken aback by my abrupt question. His lips twitched. He took a deep breath, trying to make his tone sound friendly. Young friend, you're joking. Just now, a radiant glow filled the sky above my residence, and the air was filled with the fragrance of a rare elixir. This is an unprecedented event in Qingyang City. I, the city lord, have come to offer my congratulations and also wish to witness the creation of this divine elixir and the master who crafted it. The words were polite, but the meaning was clear. We want to see the elixir, and we also want to meet the alchemist. Oh, you mean that one? I feigned sudden realization. It was one of my tenants practicing it for fun. The noise was a bit loud. Sorry for disturbing everyone. My tenant was just practicing it for fun. Upon hearing this, everyone felt their minds go blank. A supreme elixir capable of inducing celestial phenomena could be created so easily? This kid was showing off, blatantly showing off. While everyone's thoughts were divided, with a creak, the courtyard gate was pushed open from the inside. Gu Chun, his hair and beard all white, rushed out, holding a jade box. His face flushed, he trembled with excitement, muttering incantations. It's true, yin and yang unite. A transformation of destiny. Huh. He completely ignored the group of powerful figures at the gate. His eyes were only on the pill in his hand. Everyone's gaze instantly focused on the jade box. Even through the box, they could feel the terrifying medicinal power contained within, a power that seemed capable of reversing life and death, reshaping the universe. Master Gugu and Li Tiangong's voices trembled slightly. They recognized Gu Chun, the down-on, his luck alchemist, who had spent decades in Qingyang City, regarded by everyone as a madman and a drunkard. Who would have thought that it was he, Mr. Gu Chun, who had triggered such a celestial phenomenon? Who would be the one to do so? Only then did he notice me, and excitedly ran over to hand me the jade box. I have not failed you, he said. I took the jade box, opened it a crack, and peeked inside. There lay a pill the size of a longan, half fiery red and half icy blue. Two completely different auras flowed on the surface of the pill, forming a perfect Tai Chi pattern, incredibly profound. Ding! Tenant Gu Chun successfully refined a top-grade yin-yang reversal pill. Alchemy Room Proficiency Certificate, 100. Tenant Gu Chun, Dan Dao Comprehension Certificate, 500. According to the lease agreement, the host acquires 50% ownership of this pill. I nodded in satisfaction and closed the jade box. Not bad, you've worked hard. This month's bonus is doubled. Thank you, landlord. Gu Chun was overjoyed. Our conversation, seemingly oblivious to everyone else, left the group of big shots at the door feeling incredibly awkward. Li Tiangong's face turned pale and then red. As the lord of a city, he had never been treated so coldly. He finally couldn't hold back and stepped forward, saying in a deep voice, "Young friend Chun, this pill is of great importance. May I have a look?" "Sure." I nodded, then changed the subject. However, there are rules here. I glanced around at the powerful figures at the entrance, their eyes gleaming with greed, cleared my throat, and announced loudly, "From today onwards, my family's alchemy room is officially accepting orders for high-end custom-made pills. This yin-yang reversal pill is our first shot in launching our brand. It's a sample, not for sale. If you want to place an order, please bring your prescription and materials and queue up to make an appointment. I only charge a rental fee." My words shocked everyone present. I wasn't resolving a crisis, I was holding a press conference. I wasn't passively dealing with a situation, I was actively attracting investment. I looked at the most powerful people in Qingyang City and saw a landlord's most sincere smile when seeing a high-quality client, only charging rent. Li Tiangang was stunned. In his nearly 200 years of life, this was the first time he had heard such a bizarre statement. He was giving up a divine pill that countless foundation establishment cultivators would fight tooth and nail for, instead claiming to offer some kind of customized service, charging only gold. What was this young man thinking? Not bad. I nodded, tossing the jade box to Gu Chun. Old Jia, you should first introduce the functions and effects of our sample to them, so they know the value of our service. All right, Mr. Landlord. Gu Chun replied, now completely obedient to me. He took the box. He cleared his throat, an air of arrogance emanating from him as a master alchemist. Facing the assembled luminaries of Qingyang City, he declared loudly, "Gentlemen, this pill is called the yin-yang reversal pill. It is an improvement upon an ancient, incomplete formula, the result of my life's work. Its only effect is..." He paused, his eyes gleaming with fervent light, "to assist cultivators at the peak of the foundation establishment stage in harmonizing their yin and yang energies, breaking through bottlenecks, and increasing their chances by 30%. Even if it weren't for my landlord, refining it in such a blessed land would increase the chances of forming a golden core by at least 50%. When these two words were uttered from Yuhi's mouth, the entire scene instantly spiraled out of control. What? 50%? My God, did I hear that right? A 50% increase in the chance of accepting orders. This isn't just a divine pill. This is the key to the golden core path. The breathing of all the foundation establishment cultivators became incredibly heavy. Their eyes instantly turned red, staring intently at the jade box in Guchen's hand, their eyes practically screaming that they wanted to rush up and snatch. You must know that the path from foundation establishment to golden core is an insurmountable chasm on the road to immortality. If even 1 out of 100 foundation establishment cultivators at the great perfection stage successfully forms a golden core, they are considered geniuses. Any pill that can increase the chances by even 0.5% is enough to cause a bloodbath. And this pill can increase it by 50%. This isn't just defying the heavens. This is openly challenging the heavenly Tao. Li Tiangong's body trembled slightly. He had been trapped in the late foundation establishment stage for 50 years, and with his lifespan nearing its end and no hope of forming a golden core, the appearance of this pill was like a traveler in the desert finding an oasis. He could no longer maintain the dignity and composure of a city lord, and asked in a hoarse voice, "Mr. Chun, what exactly are the rules for this customized service you mentioned?" Seeing the fish take the bait, I smiled inwardly. The rules were simple. I held up 3 fingers. First, the person seeking the pill must bring their own formula and 3 sets of materials. I don't care where you get them, I only care about the result. Second, the pill refining will be overseen by my tenant, Master Gu, and will take place in my alchemy room. After the pill is formed, regardless of success or failure, we will only take one of the 3 materials as rent for the venue and labor. Third, and most importantly, I looked around at everyone and emphasized, it's first come, first served here. Now, we're accepting reservations. The first reservation goes to the highest bidder. My words were clear and logical. This man had cleverly turned a potential robbery into a commercial bidding process. Everyone exchanged bewildered glances, their eyes revealing shock and helplessness. This kid's calculations were too shrewd. He wouldn't sell individual items because each sale meant one less available item and would bring endless trouble. But renting out services was different. You provided the materials, you bore the risks, he reaped the rewards, guaranteed a profit, and he could bind all those seeking services to his profit chain. Brilliant. I'll offer 5,000 spirit stones to reserve the first spot. A stout family patriarch was the first to react, shouting at the top of his lungs, 5,000? You're not worthy. Another tall, thin old man sneered, I'll offer 8,000 spirit stones. My 100 herbs. The owner of Baikatang, a shrewd middle-aged man, was willing to offer 1,000-year-old Hisho Wu Polygonum Multiflorum plus 10,000 spirit stones for the first alchemy position. He dropped a bombshell, and chaos erupted at the entrance, turning it into a makeshift auction. Chun Tianxiong watched, his eyes wide with disbelief. He was torn between his own mind and his own. The Chen family also had a supreme elder who had remained at the great perfection of foundation establishment for many years. If he could get this opportunity, but then he remembered how he had treated me before and saw my ambiguous smile. He felt as if he'd been doused with cold water and dared not utter a word. Just as the situation was about to spiral out of control, a cold sword light descended from the sky and landed on the outskirts of the crowd. Ling Shuang returned and saw the scene before her. His face changed slightly, thinking something had happened to me, and he quickly squeezed in. Mr. Chun, Fairy Ling Shuang, you've returned just in time. I smiled at him. I've already reserved a VIP channel for your order of the soul-nourishing pill. You don't need to compete with them. I said this intentionally for everyone to hear. Sure enough, when everyone heard about the soul-nourishing pill and the VIP channel, their eyes were filled with envy and jealousy as they looked at Ling Shuang. Ling Shuang was slightly taken aback, but then understood my intention. A warm feeling welled up in her heart. This Mr. Chen's actions were truly impeccable. He not only solved her problem, but also subtly elevated her status. She nodded gratefully and stood quietly beside me without saying another word. Li Tiangang looked at the chaos before him. Taking a deep breath and using his spiritual power, he said loudly, "Everyone, please calm down." The pressure of the late foundation establishment stage instantly silenced the entire room. He bowed solemnly to me. "Mr. Chun, this first batch of pills, the Qingyang City Lord's Mansion wants it. I'm willing to exchange a 3,000-year-old dragon blood vine from the City Lord's Mansion's treasury, plus a 3-year mining right to a top-grade spiritual vein mine in the south of the city for this first opportunity." He directly offered a price that no one could refuse, and the spiritual vein mine was top-grade. This was too generous. I nodded in satisfaction. Okay, City Lord, you re so generous. However, I'm not interested in the mining rights. I shook my head. Too troublesome. I'm too lazy to send people to dig. I just like to acquire land. How about this, that place? The land deed for the hilltop where the mine is located was directly transferred to me. Upon hearing this, Li Tiangang was first stunned, then overjoyed. Exchanging a mine that might be eventually depleted for a real order opportunity. This deal was a steal. It was a deal. A storm triggered by the divine pill was transformed into a mutually beneficial business cooperation in just a few casual words from me. Not only did I avoid trouble, but I also secured the second piece of land for my real estate empire without spending a penny. Looking at the awe and helplessness in everyone's eyes, I had only one thought in my mind. Being a landlord is the most awesome job in the world. While my pill rental business was causing a stir in Xinjiang City, thousands of miles away, a place shrouded in rolling black. Beneath the clouds, nestled within a massive mountain range, lay the Blackfire sect's main hall. Inside, the sect leader, a Foundation establishment grand perfection cultivator with a sinister expression, paced anxiously back and forth. Since Elder Ma Yuan lost contact, he had dispatched several waves of scouts to Qingyang City, but all had vanished without a trace. He vaguely sensed that the sect had met its match. Just as he was becoming increasingly agitated, a long-closed stone door deep within the hall slowly opened. A scorching and terrifying aura, like a volcanic eruption, emanated from within. Faced with this aura, the Blackfire sect leader, a Foundation establishment grand perfection expert, was instantly forced to his knees, unable to move, like an ant. What has disturbed my peaceful cultivation? An aged, hoarse voice echoed from within the stone gate, each word seemingly burning the very soul with fiery intensity. Old ancestor. The Blackfire sect master trembled, bowing respectfully. Your disciple has failed you in your cultivation and deserves death, he said, his voice devoid of emotion. Your Highness, he reported, my two uncles, Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan, have achieved their goal in Xinjiang City. Those I sent have all perished. Moreover, just now, a strange phenomenon occurred in the direction of Xinjiang City. A top-grade elixir has been born. A moment of silence fell within the stone gate. The terrifying pressure seemed to fluctuate slightly. Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan, those two useless elixir masters, the aged voice rang out again, this time tinged with an almost imperceptible greed. My Crimson Flame Demon art is just at the critical juncture of its breakthrough. If I could obtain a top-grade precious pill to help me, I might be able to break through the bottleneck and enter the mid-stage of the Golden Core realm. I'm going to Xinjiang City myself. Yes, sir. The Blackfire sect master was overjoyed upon hearing this. The ancestor is going to take action personally. This ancestor is the Blackfire sect's pillar of strength, a peerless expert in the early Golden Core stage. Once he takes action, all the mysterious experts in Xinjiang City will be reduced to ashes. I just finished signing the land transfer agreement with Li Tian and obtained the land deed for the spiritual vein mountain in the south of the city. Ding! Congratulations, host. You have obtained a new property, the South City Spiritual Mine. Rated as a mid-grade spiritual land. Developable projects include mining, planting fire attribute spiritual herbs, and establishing a branch. Property points, 2,000. I'm so happy. I was just about to close down and properly plan my new property. Suddenly, a suffocatingly terrifying pressure swept in from the western horizon. This pressure was hundreds or thousands of times stronger than the one from Ma Yuan before. Under this pressure, the entire Xinjiang City seemed to have turned into a small boat. Trembling amidst the raging waves, every cultivator in the city, regardless of their cultivation level, felt as if their hearts were being gripped by an invisible hand, making even breathing difficult. The once bustling courtyard gate fell silent instantly. Li Tiangang, Chun Tianxiong, and the other Foundation establishment experts turned deathly pale. The voice of the Golden Core ancestor, Li Tiangang, was filled with boundless fear. This aura comes from the direction of the Blackfire sect. The old monster from the Blackfire sect has arrived. It's over. Only these two words remained in everyone's minds. The arrival of a Golden Core ancestor was enough to easily slaughter the entire Xinjiang City. Ling Shuang's pretty face also instantly lost its color. He subconsciously gripped the long sword behind him, protecting me behind him. Hurry up and come into the courtyard. This old devil is coming for us. I merely raised an eyelid and glanced at the approaching dark cloud on the western horizon. Far from fear, my face showed a hint of impatience. Seriously, I just finished a big deal, and now this uninvited guest appears. Can't a person even get a proper rest? I moved my rocking chair and, right in front of everyone, casually lay down. This relaxed and carefree demeanor contrasted sharply with the tense and fearful expressions of those around me. The dark cloud arrived in an instant, hovering above my courtyard. The clouds churned, and an old man in a crimson robe, with a withered body and a face like a demon, slowly emerged from the clouds. He was the Blackfire sect member. The Supreme Elder, Crimson Flame Ancestor, swept his gaze like a sharp sword across the area below. When his eyes landed on the spirit field in my courtyard, his pupils constricted sharply. He saw it. He saw his two long-lost junior disciples, Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan. At this moment, those two Foundation establishment elders, who in his memory had been so imposing, were now dressed in patched, coarse cloth clothes, one holding a hoe and the other carrying a bucket of water, sweating profusely as they tilled the field. Their movements were so practiced, their expressions so resigned. An indescribable, overwhelming rage erupted from Crimson Flame Ancestor. The temperature of the entire Qingyang city seemed to rise by dozens of degrees in that instant. "How dare you brat, insult me?" The disciple, Crimson Flame Ancestor, spoke each word with a thunderous roar that reverberated throughout the heavens and earth. He stared intently at me, reclining in the rocking chair, his eyes radiating a palpable killing intent. He raised a withered hand, and a ball of dark red flames surged wildly from his palm, lunging at me. With a single strike, the dark red flames transformed into a colossal fiery hand that blotted out the sky, carrying the terrifying power to scorch mountains and boil seas, slamming down fiercely on my courtyard. A strike from a golden core stage expert. This strike was enough to raise half of Qingyang city to the ground. Li Tiangang and the others had already closed their eyes in despair. However, I merely yawned. "Qingyan, close the courtyard gate for me. It's windy outside, don't let it blow on me." It was Master Lu Qingyan. Although he was also nervous, I had a blind trust in him. He walked to the door and, to everyone's astonishment, slowly closed the two seemingly ordinary wooden doors. The instant the gate closed, a colossal, sky-covering fiery hand crashed down. The fiery hand, carrying the earth-shattering power of a golden core cultivator, slammed down. Li Tiangang and the others could already feel the terrifying heat that could instantly vaporize them. Their faces turned ashen, and their hearts were filled with endless regret. Regret for staying here to watch the spectacle. However, the expected cataclysmic scene did not occur. Just as the fiery hand was about to touch my small courtyard, a layer of pure, white gold light, like that of crystal, appeared. A semicircular shield rose from the courtyard wall, enveloping the entire courtyard. The giant fiery hand slammed solidly into the thin halo of light. A deafening roar echoed for miles around, and the terrifying energy shockwave, like a Category 12 hurricane, swept in all directions. The cultivators watching from outside the courtyard were blown around like leaves in a storm. Those with weaker cultivation were knocked unconscious, spitting blood. Li Tiangang, Chun Tianxiong, and other Foundation establishment experts also exerted all their strength, unleashing their respective magic weapons to barely stabilize themselves in the shockwave, but they were all in a sorry state, their blood churning. When the dust settled, everyone looked up in horror, only to see the giant fiery hand. The palm strike had vanished without a trace, and the small courtyard, along with the fragile platinum gold passport, was completely unharmed. Not only was it not destroyed, but not a single tile on the courtyard wall had fallen. Impossible. In midair, the Crimson Flame Ancestor's hoarse voice carried shock and disbelief for the first time. He stared intently at the platinum gold halo, feeling the supreme, sacred majesty emanating from it, an aura as inviolable as the heavenly Tao itself. His heart was filled with turmoil. What kind of formation was this? He had roamed the northern region for hundreds of years, and had never seen or heard of any formation that could so easily withstand the full force of a Golden Core stage ancestor's attack. This was beyond his understanding of the Tao of formations. Just as he was in shock, the courtyard gate that had just closed opened again. I was still lying in the rocking chair, but someone moved the chair inside the gate, and I had a cup of steaming spiritual tea in my hand. I gently blew on the tea, took a sip, and then raised my eyelids to look at the old monster with a livid face in midair. I said, "Old man." My voice wasn't loud, but it clearly reached the ears of everyone present. "At your age, you still have such a temper. Making such a commotion at my doorstep, damaging the flowers and plants. What if you don't damage them? Even if you don't damage them, you scared my tenants and affected my rental income. Can you afford to compensate for that loss?" My tone was like scolding a naughty child who threw firecrackers around. The whole place fell silent. Everyone looked at me with the eyes of someone looking at a god. Is this kid talking to a Golden Core stage ancestor? Does he even know what death means? Even Lu Qingyan and Ling Shuang were sweating bullets for me. The face of the Crimson Flame ancestor was so gloomy that it was almost dripping with sweat. Shui Lai, who had lived for 500 years, had never been spoken to in such a tone before. Fine, 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 he laughed in fury. What an arrogant brat. I'll see how long your shell can protect you. With that, he opened his mouth and spat out a flying sword engulfed in black, demonic flames. It lengthened in the wind, transforming into a 100-foot-long black fire dragon, and once again slashed fiercely towards my courtyard. This magic weapon was his natal spirit treasure, its power several times stronger than the previous fiery giant hand. However, I didn't even raise an eyelid. System activated anti-attack mode. Ding. High-intensity malicious attack detected. Property self-defense system activated anti-attack mode. Suddenly, the white gold passport shone brightly. Just as the black fire dragon was about to strike the passport, the entire surface suddenly became as smooth as a mirror. The black fire dragon struck the mirror without making a sound, as if it had vanished into thin air. But the next second, the smooth mirror surface trembled violently. The 100-zhang-long black fire dragon was unexpectedly and violently bounced back at an even faster speed than before, its target pointing directly at the astonished Crimson Flame ancestor in midair. What? The Crimson Flame ancestor was horrified. He never imagined that his natal spiritual treasure would be reflected back by the opponent's formation. This turn of events happened too quickly, he didn't have time to react perfectly. He could only hastily set up layers of defense in front of him. The black fire dragon slammed solidly into him. After a loud bang, the Crimson Flame ancestor's figure flew backward like a kite with a broken string, scattering a string of dazzling snowflakes in the air. He flew hundreds of zhang before barely regaining his footing. His face was as pale as paper, a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. The look in his eyes as he looked at me had changed from anger and contempt to utter terror and fear. He had lost inexplicably, lost with utter frustration. He hadn't even touched the hem of the other's clothes. I put down my teacup and got out of the rocking chair. He stood up and slowly walked to the courtyard gate, looking at him calmly. "Now we can sit down and talk about compensation," he said. "Your 2 junior disciples have been working here, damaging the feng shui of several acres of my spiritual fields and causing incalculable economic losses. Your 2 attacks just now have also caused serious mental distress to me and my potential clients, delaying several big deals." He counted on his fingers, his face serious. "Here's what I'll do. I'll give you a package deal, 100,000 high-grade spirit stones, or 30% of the land deeds to all the spiritual mountain mines under your Blackfire sect. You can take your 2 good-for-nothing junior disciples back. Otherwise, they'll stay here and farm for me for the rest of their lives until the debt is paid off." His voice echoed in the deathly silence of Qingyang City. Everyone was numb. This was blatant extortion, and the target was a Golden Core stage ancestor. This world was insane. 100,000 high-grade spirit stones. Upon hearing this number, the Crimson Flame ancestor nearly coughed up another mouthful of blood. What did 1 high-grade spirit stone even mean? 1 high-grade spirit stone was equal to 100 mid-grade spirit stones, equal to 10,000 low-grade spirit stones, And 100,000 high-grade spirit stones was a staggering 1 billion low-grade spirit stones. Even selling his entire Black Flame sect wouldn't be enough to raise 1/10 of that amount. This kid wasn't just extorting him, he was pushing the Black Flame sect to its death. As for the second option, 30% of the Earth's energy from all the spiritual mountain mines. That would shake the sect's very foundation. It would be worse than killing him. Boy, don't push your luck. The Crimson Flame ancestor roared hoarsely, his voice sharp yet weak. Push your luck. I laughed, a hint of cold mockery in my smile. Who's the one who comes in here without any explanation, wanting to fight and kill? Who's the one who, relying on their cultivation, treats the millions of lives of Qingyang City like debt collectors? I'm a very reasonable person. If you treat me with respect, I'll treat you with even more respect. If you try to destroy my roof, I'll dare to demolish your sect. My voice was powerful and resonant, each word like a heavy hammer blow to the Crimson Flame ancestor's heart. He fell silent. He knew. He knew he had been defeated by this mysterious and unpredictable youth in this incredibly strange formation. He was no longer considering revenge, but rather how to escape with the least possible cost. Forcing his way through was impossible. Continuing the fight would only result in his own downfall. He glanced at his 2 dazed junior disciples in the field, his heart filled with extreme resentment. It wasn't worth sacrificing the entire sect's future for 2 good-for-nothings. But if he were to leave in such a disgrace, the face of his golden core ancestor and the prestige of the Blackfire sect would be completely destroyed. After weighing the pros and cons, he took a deep breath and made an incredibly difficult decision. Without his voice, the high-grade spirit stone seemed to age 10 years instantly. However, I can compensate you with something, the Crimson Flame ancestor said slowly. Oh, I'm interested. Tell me about it. My Blackfire sect occupies a fiend-en fire vein within the Black Wind Abyss, an excellent place for refining demonic artifacts and cultivating fire-based demonic arts. He could give you that fire vein, along with the Black Rock Mountain where the fire vein was located. I can make the decision to transfer it all to you, he said. Upon hearing this, Li Tiangang and the others behind him gasped. The earthly fiend-en fire vein of Black Rock Mountain was one of the foundations of the Blackfire sect. To escape, this old demon was even willing to give up his last reserves. My heart also stirred. The earthly fiend-en fire vein was a valuable item. Although my courtyard had spirit fields, spirit houses, and alchemy rooms, their attributes were all biased towards neutrality and balance. If I could have another extremely en and fiend-type property, not only could I develop new rental projects to attract tenants who cultivated special techniques, but it would also make my real estate empire more diversified, with yin and yang complementing each other. Perhaps it could even trigger some new system function. He wanted to exchange 1 fire vein for 2 foundation establishment cultivators? Cultivator, plus appeasement of my anger. I feigned disdain and curled my lip. Old man, your plan is too shrewd. The Crimson Flame ancestor's face twitched violently as he gritted his teeth and said, that Black Rock Mountain, within 100 miles, is all the property of my Black Flame sect. It's all yours. In addition, I will personally compensate you with 3,000 high-grade spirit stones. This is my bottom line. If you still don't agree, I'll fight to the death. Even if it costs me my soul and body, I will make sure your Qingyang City is filled with blood. He was threatening, but also admitting defeat. I stroked my chin, quickly calculating in my mind, know when to stop. Extorting too much and pushing this old guy too far will not do me any good. A spirit mountain within 100 miles, plus a rare. The earthly fiery vein, plus 3,000 high-grade spirit stones for emotional distress. This deal is a steal. All right, I nodded, feigning reluctance. Seeing your sincerity, I'll take the loss and agree. Cash on delivery. Upon hearing this, the Crimson Flame ancestor felt as if he'd been granted a pardon and breathed a sigh of relief. He immediately sent a communication talisman, ordering the sect to quickly send over the land deed and spirit stones for Black Rock Mountain. Half an hour later, the Black Flame sect master personally arrived in Qingyang City, carrying a storage bag and a thick roll of animal hide land deed, trembling with fear. When he saw his ancestor with blood at the corner of his mouth and a dejected appearance, and the legendary young man, his worldview completely collapsed when he lay unharmed in the rocking chair. After I inspected the goods and confirmed they were correct, I nodded in satisfaction. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have obtained the new real estate Black Rock Mountain Cold Earth Fire Vein. Rated as a superior demon emperor. You can develop projects such as establishing a demonic cultivation ground, cultivating fire items, and renting them out to demonic or evil cultivators. Earn 5,000 property points. Ding. The host has successfully reached a commercial settlement with a golden core cultivator and received a huge compensation. The host's prestige as a landlord has greatly increased. Reward: special building blueprints. Lock Dragon Well, an unexpected bonus. I put away the land deed and then shouted towards the field. Zhao Wuji Ma Yuan. You two can go home now. Your families are coming to pick you up. Zhao and Ma, as if hearing heavenly music, dropped their farm tools, tears streaming down their faces, and scrambled out. The Crimson Flame ancestor, carrying his two reunited nephews and a bleeding heart, didn't want to linger a moment longer. He transformed into a streak of black light and vanished into the sky in a sorry state. A crisis that could have overturned the entire Qingyang city was thus peacefully resolved in a way no one could have imagined. And from this day forward, my name, Chen Fan, will truly resound throughout the entire northern region. People will no longer call me the mysterious expert of Qingyang City, but will give me a more fitting and awe-inspiring title, Lord of Real Estate. With the crisis resolved, it's time for me to get down to business. Turning to look at Ling Shuang, who had witnessed everything from beginning to end and was completely stunned, I said, Fairy Ling Shuang, you've been waiting long. Now we can talk about the cooperation regarding the soul-nourishing pill and green bamboo slope. Ling Shuang was pulled back to reality by my words. He looked at me with an extremely complex expression: shock, awe, disbelief, a mix of emotions that left his mind blank. He had thought that my ability to suppress two foundation establishment cultivators was already a hidden master, but he never expected that I could so easily force back an old monster in the Golden Core stage, and even extort a large sum of money from him. This was beyond the description of a master, it was the work of a god. Duan now understood that my previous demands for the green bamboo slope weren't an exorbitant request at all, they were practically a favor. Mr. Chun, Ling Shuang's voice trembled slightly. Junior, he said, I've already reported this to my sect. Master and sect master have agreed to your conditions. He carefully took out a land deed made of jade bamboo slips and a storage bag filled with various rare medicinal herbs from his storage pouch. This is the land deed for the green bamboo slope, he said. It is stamped with the seal of the sect master of my green bamboo sword sect. Inside are all the materials needed to refine the soul-nourishing pill, he continued. We've prepared 5 portions of each. His posture was extremely humble, full of... Respectfully, I accepted the land deed and storage bag. A quick scan with my divine sense gave me a satisfied nod. The green bamboo sword sect was indeed much more sincere than the Blackfire sect. Ding! The first stage of the epic chain quest was successfully completed. I obtained the green bamboo slope land deed. Quest completed. Rewards issued. Property points earned. 10,000 points. System mall fully upgraded. Special building blueprints. The remnant of the cross-realm teleportation array has been stored in the warehouse. Here it comes. A surge of joy filled me. 10,000 property points. Now I can do another major upgrade. And that cross-realm teleportation array. This is the core technology for realizing my ultimate dream of collecting rent while lying down and owning properties all over the world. I suppressed my excitement and said to Ling Shuang, very good. I accept the materials. I'm also very satisfied with the land deed. Go back and tell your master to rest assured that the soul-nourishing pill will definitely be delivered within 3 days. Thank you, Mr. Chun. Ling Shuang bowed deeply to me, tears streaming down her face. Sir, your great kindness will be forever forgotten by the Qingzhou sword sect. You're too kind. I waved my hand. We're having a fair deal. In the future, I'll be doing some real estate development on your Qingzhou sword sect's territory. I hope you'll do me a favor. Certainly. Ling Shuang nodded repeatedly. After seeing Ling Shuang off, I immediately had Lu Qingyan hang up the temporarily closed sign, then closed the courtyard gate and rushed into the system. With over 17,000 property points, an unprecedented windfall, I didn't hesitate to embark on a massive upgrade spree. Ding! Consume 5,000 property points to upgrade the fine cave dwelling to a perfect blessed land? Yes. Ding! Consumed 3,000 property points to upgrade the mid-grade spirit field to a superior grade immortal field? Yes. Ding. Consumed 3,000 property points to upgrade the basic alchemy room to the intermediate treasure pill pavilion? A series of confirmations followed, and my points were instantly depleted. But the next second, the entire courtyard underwent a dramatic transformation. The earth trembled slightly, and the courtyard's area expanded more than tenfold in a platinum gold light. The original spirit field transformed into a boundless immortal herb garden, filled with flowing rosy light and countless auspicious wisps of energy, teeming with rare spiritual herbs. The medicinal seeds sprouted and took root automatically in the soil. The alchemy room on the west side rose from the ground, transforming into a 3-story exquisite pavilion. The plaque bore the 3 large, elegant characters, Bao Dan Gu, preserving Pill Pavilion. Streams of pure alchemical laws swirled around the pavilion, and the spiritual energy concentration of the entire courtyard increased to an unbelievable level, almost turning into a viscous spiritual liquid flowing in the air. Ding. Perfect blessed land upgrade complete. Territory area expanded. Spiritual energy concentration increased by 500%. Array power increased to withstand attacks from nascent soul stage cultivators. Superior sweetness upgrade complete. Can now plant all spiritual herbs of grade 6 and below. Maturity cycle shortened by 90%. Bao Dan Gu ultimate upgrade complete. Can increase the success rate of pills of grade 6 and below by 50%. A very high probability of refining top-grade pills with pill patterns. Looking at the idyllic scene before me, I smiled with satisfaction. This was truly befitting of my status as a real estate tycoon. Then, I turned my gaze to the 2 newly acquired building blueprints. The Dragon Locking Well, a special building that could be constructed on spiritual veins or earth veins to suppress, extract, and purify the energy within, or imprison powerful beings, transforming their power into the purest primordial spiritual energy to nourish the territory, and the incomplete cross-dimensional teleportation array. Another special building that could construct an array capable of ultra-long distance. Spatial teleportation. Currently, it's only 13 of the blueprint. The other 2 blueprints are needed to unlock the complete construction list. Required materials: space crystals, stardust, mithril, 9 heavens breath soil, Dragon Locking Well. This was practically tailor-made for my new real estate, Blackrock Mountain. All I needed to do was build this well on the earthly fiend fire. I can continuously draw the purest earthly fiend fire from my meridians. Whether used for chi cultivation or rented out to demonic cultivators, it's a highly profitable business. As for that teleportation array, although it's incomplete, it has pointed me in the direction of future development. My real estate empire is destined to break out of the northern region and spread to the entire cultivation continent. Mr. Gu Chen's voice pulled me back from my beautiful fantasy. He was standing at the entrance of the Treasure Pill Pavilion, trembling with excitement, looking at the brand new pavilion as if he were looking at a peerless beauty. This is simply a holy land of alchemy. All right, stop marveling. I'll give him the formula and materials for the soul-nourishing pill. I'll give you 3 days to refine this pill. What do you need? Just tell Qing Yan. Mr. Gu Chen guarantees to complete the task. Chen took the items and plunged into the Treasure Pill Pavilion, never to emerge again. 3 days later, purple chi rose again above the Treasure Pill Pavilion, and a top-grade soul-nourishing pill, covered with 3 pill patterns, was successfully produced. When Ling Shuang left with the pill, full of gratitude, my real estate empire officially ushered in its era of great development. The cultivators of Qingyang City and even the entire northern region went crazy. Countless rogue cultivator families and sects sent people with generous gifts to my mansion, the residence of the real estate tycoon. They didn't come to ask for pills or to become disciples, but only to ask for a rental quota. They wanted to rent a piece of land to grow some things. They wanted to rent a room to meditate and cultivate. They wanted to rent a futon to daydream in the courtyard. Because everyone could see that this place was no longer an ordinary cave dwelling, but a true blessed land. This supreme holy land, capable of changing one's destiny, caused my rental income to skyrocket exponentially. My cultivation also advanced rapidly under this lying back and collecting rent model, progressing smoothly from foundation establishment to mid-foundation and late foundation establishment stages. Everything seemed so natural and unpretentious. Time flies, and 10 years passed in the blink of an eye. 10 years is a long life for mortals, but for cultivators, it's merely a fleeting moment, a short period of seclusion. However, these 10 years were earth-shattering for the entire northern region's cultivation world. The center of all these changes originated from that mysterious courtyard east of Qingyang City, hailed as the first blessed land. My title as the owner of real estate was now known to all, and my immortal rental group had become the most unique in the northern region. The most detached forces nonetheless. I don't participate in any disputes, nor do I seize any resources. I only focus on my real estate business. Over the years, through various cooperative leasing and exchange methods, I have acquired the land deeds of dozens of blessed lands, spiritual mountains, and mineral veins in the northern region without shedding a drop of blood. The Blackfire sect has long since declined, and most of their territories now belong to the Qin family. The Green Bamboo Sword sect, on the other hand, has become the largest sect in the northern region due to its deep cooperation with me. Everyone in their sect is proud to be my strategic partner. My properties are increasing, and my tenants are becoming more and more high class. From the initial qi refining cultivators to the later foundation establishment experts, and now even golden core cultivators have to line up with their love numbers and wait for my leasing approval. My head steward, Lu Qingyan, has also undergone a complete transformation in these 10 years. Living year-round in this perfect blessed land, breathing spiritual liquid, eating immortal fruits, and receiving a vast amount of resources from me, he has now become a peerless golden core cultivator, with a cultivation level even higher than that of Li Tiangang, the lord of Qingyang City. He manages my rental group impeccably, becoming my representative outside, and is known as Fairy Qingyan in the hearts of countless cultivators. As for me, the creator of all this, I am even lazier than before. My daily life still consists of lying in the rocking chair in the courtyard, which has been nourished by endless spiritual energy to the point of almost becoming immortal, drinking tea, listening to music, and occasionally listening to Lu Qingyan's business reports. My cultivation level, under the automatic irrigation of the massive rental spiritual energy, had already naturally formed a golden core 5 years ago, and I've been singing all the way up. Now I'm in the late golden core stage, only one step away from the nascent soul stage. All of this happened so naturally, so boringly. I haven't even seriously fought anyone once, because no one dares to. Everyone knows that I'm invincible in my territory, and the entire northern region is my territory. This simple, unadorned, and boring invincible life sometimes makes me feel a little lost. Is my path of cultivation going to be like this, lying around until ascension? Until that day, something unexpected happened. One of the earliest tenants in the courtyard, a rogue cultivator named Old Man Zhang, who rented the cheapest spirit house from me, was nearing the end of his life. Old Man Zhang was one of my earliest tenants. He had mediocre talent and a bumpy life. He cultivated to the 7th level of qi refining, but could not advance any further. 10 years ago, he spent all his wealth just to rent a small house from me, not for cultivation, but to feel the aura of a blessed immortal land before he died, and to transform into a pure soul after death. In the past 10 years, he has never caused trouble, just cleaning every day. He watered the grass in the spirit field, paid his rent on time, and lived like an ordinary person. Everyone had almost forgotten about him. That day, I sensed that the flame of life in his house was extremely weak and could be extinguished at any moment. Lu Qingyan also noticed this. He walked to my side and asked softly, "Sir, Zhangbo, should we do something?" I shook my head and sighed. Life and death are predestined, and the cycle of heaven is beyond our control. However, just as the old man's flame of life was about to be extinguished, a sudden change occurred. The sky above his small spirit house changed color, and endless spiritual energy formed a huge vortex, surging wildly into the house. A desolate and ancient Taoist charm, which had seen through life and death, permeated the house. Withering and flourishing, life and death. So that's how it is, so that's how it is. I have misunderstood. The old man's old and weak voice suddenly became loud and clear. A vibrant and powerful aura surged from the house, the aura of a golden core cultivator. In the final moments of his life, this unassuming old man, having seen through life and death and the cycle of reincarnation, had ascended to the heavens in one step, directly forming a golden core from the 7th level of Qi refining. Moreover, his golden core was no ordinary golden core. It carried a mysterious and profound essence of life and death. All the tenants in the courtyard, including the golden core cultivators in seclusion, were startled. They rushed out of their caves, staring in disbelief at the small house bathed in golden light. How is this possible? Living here can truly change one's destiny. At this moment, the gazes of all the tenants towards my courtyard became even more fervent and devout. This place was no longer. This is a blessed land, a place where miracles can happen. Old Zhang, no, I should call him Master Zhang now, emerged from the house, his entire being rejuvenated, transforming into a sprightly middle-aged man. He walked up to me and performed the most standard and solemn Taoist salute. Zhang Daoxian thanked me for my enlightenment, sir. Without you, this pure land would have long since turned into dust. This kindness is akin to being reborn. I looked at him and shook my head, gesturing for him to rise. I hadn't enlightened him, I had merely rented him a room. But his sudden enlightenment was like a lightning bolt, piercing through the confusion in my heart. Suddenly, I understood too. Zhang Daoxuan's enlightenment was like a pebble thrown into my calm lake, stirring up ripples. I looked at him, at the aura of harmony between him and the universe, the withering and flourishing of life. Then I looked at my own golden core, a flawless core built with a vast amount of spiritual energy, yet seemingly lacking something. I think I understand now. I always thought my path to immortality was simply collecting rent, exchanging rent for spiritual energy. Improving cultivation through Qi is simple, direct, and efficient, but now I realize I was wrong, or rather, I only saw the surface. Collecting rent is merely an action, a result. What is its cause, its path? Why do I collect rent? Because I own real estate. Why can I own real estate? Because I have established order. I waved for everyone to leave, and the entire courtyard returned to tranquility. I didn't return to the rocking chair, but stood in the center of this perfect, blessed land, closing my eyes. My divine sense extended infinitely. I felt the breath of every spiritual herb in the superior, immortal field. From taking root and sprouting to growing strong, then flowering and bearing fruit. It was a complete life cycle, a cycle of glory. I felt the roar of the earthly fiend in fire vein beneath the dragon-locking well. It was filled with the power of destruction and end, the desolation of all things withering, a cycle of decay. I felt the pills that Li Guchen of the precious pill pavilion was refining. He used the alchemy furnace to blend various medicinal herbs with a wondrous balance, creating something from nothing and turning the rotten into the miraculous. This is creation. I sensed Lu Qingyan meticulously organizing the accounts of the entire rental group. Every inflow of rent and every allocation of resources followed the rules I set. This is order. I even sensed Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan, whom I had appointed as the guardians of the property. For 10 years, they had diligently managed this land. The resentment and anger in their hearts had long been dissolved by the peace of this land. Their Dao hearts had become purer and more steadfast than ever before. This is purification and protection. The process of signing and collecting rent may seem like a business transaction, but its essence is a spirit of contract. I have established a contract with my tenants. I provide them with a safe, stable, and opportunity-filled environment, and they provide energy to maintain the order of this environment in the form of rent. Isn't this a small cycle of the Tao? As the owner of this land, I am the Tao of this small cycle. I set the rules. All things follow my will. I need not personally fight or plunder. I only need to maintain this order, allowing all things to grow and evolve freely within the rules I set. Their growth and their results will naturally be partly returned to me as taxes. This way of heaven lies dormant not as laziness, not as rent collecting, not as exploitation. The path I walk is the way of the emperor, governing by non-action, the way of creation, establishing order. The moment I understood all this, my mind became clear. The late-stage golden core within me began to spin wildly, emitting dazzling light. The surface of the golden core was no longer smooth. Images began to appear on it. immortal fields, medicinal gardens, pavilions, palaces, scenes of tenants cultivating, living, and experiencing enlightenment. My golden core was actually evolving. As it shrank into a tiny world identical to my perfect, blessed land, my aura began to surge. The bottleneck of the great perfection of the Golden Core stage was instantly broken through. An aura 100 times stronger than that of the Golden Core stage, belonging to the nascent soul stage, soared from my body. This time, there were no celestial phenomena, no myriad rays of light, only a vast and majestic aura, like that of a monarch of heaven and earth, enveloping the entire courtyard. Behind me, a nascent soul, about 3 inches in size, that looked exactly like me but radiated a crystal-clear light, slowly emerged. This nascent soul did not sit cross-legged in meditation, it actually imitated me, lazily lying on a rocking chair formed from the power of laws. Holding a complete book of land deeds, also condensed from the laws, I, Chen Fan, have today achieved nascent soul, embodying the great Tao of non-action as a landlord. I opened my eyes, looking at my hands, feeling the earth-shattering power within me, and a genuine smile appeared on my face. So this is what invincibility is, simple and unpretentious. Just then, the system notifications rang wildly in my mind. Ding! Congratulations, host, for successfully advancing to the nascent soul stage after breaking through your own great Tao. System fully unlocked. The real estate empire system has officially upgraded to the small world heavenly Tao system. All of the host properties will automatically connect to form the heavenly Tao domain. Within the domain, the host's words will be law, and a single thought can determine life and death. Reward: 23 of the incomplete blueprint for the cross-world teleportation array. Reason for advancement: after comprehending the great Tao, my life seemed to have returned to its original trajectory, but everything had changed. My state of mind reached an unprecedented peace and transcendence. I no longer deliberately pursued the growth of my cultivation, because I knew that as long as my real estate empire continued to operate, as long as my tenants continued to live and cultivate under the order I had established, my power would continuously and automatically increase. I devoted more energy to. Once I entered the world-building phase, I used my newly acquired system privileges to begin integrating all the properties under my name. My ancestral home in Qingyang City, the Spirit Mine Mountain in the south of the city, the Black Rock Mountain of the Blackfire sect, and the Green Bamboo Slope of the Green Bamboo Sword sect. These properties, originally scattered throughout the northern region, were tightly linked together by an invisible chain of laws under the influence of the small world heavenly Tao system. Together, they constituted my heavenly Tao domain, in which I was the sole ruler. The newly acquired fragment of the interdimensional teleportation array also showed me the possibility of expanding my domain to even more distant places. I was still missing one last blueprint. I lay in my rocking chair, looking at the 2 blueprints in the system warehouse that emitted spatial fluctuations, and a sense of anticipation arose in my heart. This anticipation did not keep me waiting for long. A year later, a special guest came to my door through the introduction of the Green Bamboo Sword sect. He was an unparalleled powerhouse from the distant central continent, whose cultivation had reached the nascent soul stage. This powerhouse was nearing the end of his lifespan and, seeking a breakthrough, had traveled the world. Hearing of the legend of the Lord of Real Estate in the northern region, he came specifically to ask to rent a place where he could quietly cultivate and explore the mysteries of life and death to live out his days. I naturally welcome such high-quality clients, but my perfect sanctuary is already in high demand and difficult to secure a room. Senior, I said, sitting opposite him, sipping my spiritual tea with an air of neither servility nor arrogance. You know the rules here. All rooms require a lottery system. Even though you are a nascent soul cultivator, you can't cut in line and break the rules. The nascent soul cultivator in question was an elderly man with white hair and a refined, otherworldly air. Upon hearing this, he not only didn't get angry but stroked his beard and smiled. Young friend, I naturally understand your rules. I didn't come here to bully the weak. I know you seem to be collecting. He looked at me with a glint of light in his eyes as he spoke of a blueprint for an interdimensional teleportation array. I happened to acquire a fragment of this blueprint when I traveled to an ancient ruin years ago, he said. Could I exchange this for a priority entry right? He then produced an equally ancient-looking animal hide scroll. My heart trembled, but I remained outwardly calm. Oh, senior, you actually possess such a thing. May I have a look? The old man said, handing me the scroll. I took it and scanned it with my divine sense. Ding. Detected. Interdimensional teleportation array fragment blueprint 33. Integrate. Completed. I suppressed my inner elation, but my face revealed he gave an expression that said, "This item is precious, but it's nothing special." It is indeed genuine, I nodded. Since you're so sincere, senior, the rules can be flexible. How about this? There's an open space next to the dragon-locking well in my courtyard. The scenery is nice, but the malevolent energy is a bit strong. I see you, senior, are full of righteous energy. You could go there and experience the joy of yin and yang harmony. Consider this picture your 100-year advance rent. The kind old man stroked his beard and laughed, clearly very satisfied with the result. A win-win deal was thus reached. After seeing off this new tenant at the nascent soul stage, I immediately entered the system and selected synthesis. Ding! 3 fragments of the map are complete. The cross-realm teleportation array blueprint is complete. Synthesis successful. Complete construction list unlocked. Main array materials: 9 Heaven's Breath Soil 11, Starry Silver 11, Space Crystal Core 01. Looking at the long list of materials, I didn't feel a headache at all. Instead, I was filled with enthusiasm. Over the years, through my tenant network, I have collected most of the rare materials. The only thing lacking is the most crucial one, the space crystal core required for the main array. Qingyan, I called out, "Sir." Lu Qingyan appeared. He appeared silently beside me and posted a bounty for me. I said, "I, the owner of this real estate, am willing to exchange the permanent residency of an independent cave within the perfect world for a fist-sized space crystal core." This bounty spread throughout the cultivation world at an astonishing speed through my tenant network. The world was shaken. The words "permanent residency" meant an unparalleled opportunity for any cultivator to ascend to the heavens. Countless cultivators began frantically searching for the space crystal's whereabouts for this elusive bounty. 3 months later, an unexpected person brought what I needed appeared before me. It was Ling Shuang, now a nascent soul stage sword cultivator, his bearing even more impressive than before. He handed me a fist-sized crystal, shimmering with brilliant light, its interior seemingly filled with flowing stars. "Mr. Chun, this item was found deep within an ancient sword-type artifact by my sect. I hope it will be of use to you." I looked at him, then at the Qingzhou sword sect master behind him, a golden core expert who had long since recovered his health and whose cultivation had even improved. I smiled. "All right, I'll accept this crystal. In return, your Qingzhou sword sect will henceforth be a diamond-level strategic partner of my Baozu group. With all the newly developed properties in hand, you have priority purchase rights." Once the materials were ready, I immediately began constructing the teleportation array. With the assistance of the small world Heavenly Dao system, a huge and complex silver array, inscribed with spatial law runes, slowly took shape in the center of my courtyard. The first coordinate I chose at the other end was my first out-of-town property, Kingzupo. With the full cooperation of the Qingzhou sword sect, a small receiving array was also quickly established. On the day the array was completed, I stood in the center of the main array and glanced back at Lu Qingyan, Gu Chun, Zhang Daoxian, and even Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan were standing not far away. With eyes full of anticipation and excitement, Lu Qingyan said softly, "Have a safe journey, sir." I smiled and nodded at him. Then, I activated the array. The silver light instantly engulfed me. The stars shifted and space transformed. When the light dissipated, I was already standing on Qingzhou Slope, tens of thousands of miles away. Under my feet was familiar land, and before me was a crisp sea of bamboo. Success! My real estate empire has officially entered a new era of cross-industry operation. Looking at this vast and vibrant land, I felt a surge of pride. System, give me a set of blueprints for a seascape magic building. Build 100 buildings first. Internal subscription 20% off. In the world of cultivators, the moon is both the cheapest and the most precious thing. Countless seasons have passed, and when I awoke from a brief nap, the world had undergone a complete transformation. My immortal real estate group had become a colossal entity spanning multiple continents and even connecting to some fragmented small worlds. My properties were scattered throughout every corner of the cultivation world, from bustling immortal cities to desolate demon realms, from deep underwater dragon palaces to cloud cities floating in the heavens. Wherever there was spiritual energy, there were my properties. Wherever there was decoration, there were my tenants. Cross-realm teleportation arrays had long since connected my vast real estate empire like a spider web. I, Chen Fan, the real estate master, the landlord of myriad realms, the lying down immortal lord, had been given many titles by the world, but they still didn't know my true cultivation level. Because I hadn't personally taken action for a very long time, my name had become synonymous with order and rules. No one dared to cause trouble on my territory, and no one dared to default on my rent. My empire operated autonomously and continuously under a perfect and rigorous system that I had already set up. And I had finally achieved my greatest. The initial and ultimate dream, the small courtyard in the east of Qingyang City, has now become a sacred place known to everyone in the entire cultivation world. It is shrouded in a layer of chaotic light invisible to mortals, forming its own world and existing independently of time and space. In the courtyard, I still lie on the rocking chair whose original material is no longer discernible, gently rocking. Beside the rocking chair, Lu Qingyan, dressed in white, is peerless in elegance. He is no longer the little steward of yesteryear, but the CEO of the entire Baozu Group, the heavenly Dao CEO. But at this moment, he is like the most ordinary wife, his delicate hands peeling open a crystal-clear fresh fruit, revealing the flesh. They fed me small portions, one by one, and we naturally became Taoist partners one afternoon after collecting rent. Not far away, Guchun, the old man hailed as the ancestor of pills, was arguing heatedly with his closed-door disciple, the newly promoted single Saint Zhang Daoxian, over the medicinal properties of a celestial herb. Further away, at the mountain gate, Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan, two former convicts, were now powerful guardian deities, clad in golden armor and wielding divine weapons, meticulously protecting this sacred land. The long years had not only washed away their resentment, but also allowed them to find their own Tao in this holy place. His cultivation was now vastly different from before. Everything was so peaceful and serene. Just then, outside the Holy Land, a young prodigy, dressed in magnificent robes and exuding an arrogant aura, whose cultivation had reached the tribulation-transcending stage, stepped out from the void. He hailed from a reclusive ancient imperial clan, and since his birth, he had swept aside his contemporaries without a single defeat. His heart was filled with the loneliness of invincibility. Having heard the legend of the lying down immortal lord, he was unconvinced and came specifically to challenge him, wanting to break this myth and prove that he was the protagonist of this era. "Come out and fight me." The young prodigy's voice boomed like thunder, resounding through the heavens, carrying supreme pressure that seemed to pierce through the chaos. The light barrier merely rippled slightly, instantly dissolving all his oppressive aura. He frowned, about to force his way through the mountain gate, when Zhao Wuji's figure slowly appeared. He looked at the young prodigy before him with a kind and professional smile, as if greeting an ordinary guest. "Hello, fellow Taoist. This is private territory, no noise allowed. May I ask if you have an appointment?" Zhao Wuji then pulled a thick, up-to-date real estate catalog from his robes and enthusiastically handed it over. "Are you looking to rent a room?" the young prodigy asked, looking at the beautifully crafted catalog and then at the smiling man before him. But the gatekeeper, whose aura was unfathomable, was completely stunned. He had prepared a bellyful of grand pronouncements and astonishing supernatural powers, but at this moment, he couldn't utter a single word. In the courtyard, I didn't even open my eyes. I simply opened my mouth to accept another slice of fresh fruit from Lu Qingyan, savoring its unique sweetness. The sun was shining brightly. The breeze was gentle. Being a landlord and becoming an immortal. How wonderful.